The American First Warehouse, a beacon for all to see, a symbol of unity. For the patriots of America, we stand tall and free. In the American First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be. We're courage in our hearts and freedom in our eyes. The American First Warehouse, a beacon for all to see, a symbol of unity. For the patriots of America, we stand tall and free. In the American First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be.
Wow, there's Jesus. I see him. That's my brother, Johnny Blanket. I love you, Johnny. Here I am, Tommy Holman, friend of mine. Here it comes, my favorite part.
For the patriots of America, we stand tall and free. In the America First Warehouse.
That's me. That's me on my motorcycle. Rum, rum, rum. Trump, baby. Oh, yeah. Look at this party. We've been partying a long time. Wow. Wow. That's right. I have a jingle. I have my own jingle. It's unbelievable. America First Warehouse, created by Jesus Christ, my Lord. That's how I follow. I can't help it. He takes me to places I would never imagine. I would never imagine to be here. Many years ago, I got a phone call by this guy, Gavin McInnes. I heard he was a Proud Boy. That's what I heard. Proud Boys are here. We got a few of you. We probably have a few Oath Keepers, too. I know we got a lot of Popo. We got a lot of veterans. Any veterans here, please stand up. This is what we're going to do for the veterans. We're going to stand up. There's Vietnam veterans back there. And we're going to do a pledge to this flag. So please stand up and put your hand on your heart for our great American patriots and citizens and Americans. We love American. I want to thank the British very much for letting us have America. Thank you, Tommy. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Justice for all, right? All right, have a seat. We got the business done. We're all here to see Tommy Robinson. I'm going to bring up Gavin McInnes. I was telling you a quick story. I got a phone call from Gavin McInnes. Who is he? He wants to have a show at the warehouse. I go, what do you mean? He goes, this Friday. I go, it's Wednesday. What happened? Well, they canceled me in Jersey. They canceled me in Queens. And you're my last resort. Somebody told me about you, Joe. Somebody told me that you were fearless when it comes to free speech. And I said, isn't everybody? Of course, bring him in. And he came in. And boy, he rocked the house. We had Gino Biscotti, a regular here now at the warehouse. He came in with all his friends. It was a great show. And I said goodbye to that man, and I thanked him very much for bringing his followers here to the warehouse. And then just a couple of weeks ago, he called me up. He has a great idea, Tommy Robinson. I go, get the fuck out of here. No way, bro. That can't be true. But it is true, and he's here. Gavin McInnes is going to introduce him. Gavin McInnes, please come to the stage. God bless you, brother. A real American patriot right here. Don't hold anything back. Can I get you a beer? You can put your beer right there. Get him a beer. You're going to introduce your guest?
Yes, I will.
You can use this if you want. Okay. I'll turn this way. That one you like, right?
I walked in here, and I love Joe, bordering on gay. And I ran up to him and I went, "What's up, faggot?" Yeah! Gave him a noogie. And he goes, "Get your hands off of me!" And I go, "I thought we were bros." He goes, "I'm his twin brother, you idiot." Oops. Tommy's got a fascinating life. A year ago, he was in a cage, rotting, with charges mounted to the ceiling. There was very little hope for him. Everyone outside of his cell wanted to kill him. And if you got farther than his cell, you got to the prison guards that want him dead, the establishment that wants him dead. It was nothing but death outside. So his prison cell was the safest place to be. And, you know, that chips away at a man. No matter how strong you are, iron with enough drips starts to deteriorate. And cut to today, this man has a massive following. There's going to be a 3 million person riot in a few days. As soon as he got out, he did Unite the Kingdom and had the largest demonstration in the history of Britain. His documentary, Silence, is the most watched documentary. And we're going to hear about his life. It's a fascinating tale. But what he personifies to me and to most people who know him is, you got to get back up. You know, he's a human white pill. No matter how bad things are, if you just stick through it, if you do your time and you get out, you will have your own Unite the Kingdom. You will have your own revolution. And the Lord rewards those who persevere. And ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Robinson, the king of perseverance.
Thank you, guys.
These chairs don't show your gut. That's good.
I know, look, I feel small as always.
Welcome to America.
First of all, it's great to be here. I'm very blessed to be here. I never thought I'd get into the United States of America. Let me sit back. I've had a fabulous time so far for the last 6 weeks travelling around. And do you know what? I'm relaxed tonight because I'm with Gavin. So, you know...
Best guy ever.
Do you know why? Because if you say something wrong, Gavin's one of those people, if I go out with him, if I smash something, he'll smash more. If I say something wrong, he'll say something worse. So I could totally relax tonight. And it doesn't matter what I say or do, because Gavin will outdo me in it. So I'm blessed to be here. I've become good friends with Gavin. I watched Gavin for years. This warehouse is unbelievable, so I'm very grateful. Do you know, for me to come to America, to meet all the people I've watched for so many years, to see all the people they've tried to silence, and to see where they are. I've travelled around for the last 6 weeks meeting different characters who they've tried to break down, and all those characters are now up with huge platforms. I guess we're the same. We now have a larger voice than we've ever had. Everything they've done to attack us and silence us hasn't worked. We're in the build-up now. I wish I could enjoy it a bit more, because I've got, as Gavin just said, our next event is on the 16th of May. It's going to be the biggest event we've ever done. And there's a lot of things going wrong in the background, but we'll just keep a strong face and continue.
I don't know why you keep doing this to yourself.
No, Gavin, you said that, and I said the same. I looked at my son and said, why have I done it again? Why have I organised it again? Because anything that could go wrong, all the problems that come with it, but I think that the country needs it. I think that we needed it. Do you know, after the riots in London? So the riots happened in London. They were trying to pin the riots on me. It's a bit like January 6th. What they done with January 6th is they locked... I just met a lady here. I don't know where she is. I just met a lady who spent a year in... She spent a year in jail for January 6th. She was pardoned, yeah? Just a mother taken off the streets and locked up. Now, the purpose of doing that to her, and the purpose of doing it to us in the UK, to doing it to Lucy Connolly, who was a British mother who got 31 months in jail. The purpose of doing all these things was to put fear into you, whether it be the British audience or the American audience. You were supposed to be scared to protest again after January 6th. Yeah. You were supposed to be too fearful. Even if they rob your election, they wanted you to be too scared to come out on the streets. Now, that's what they done in the UK after the riots, which was why it was important for us to launch Unite the Kingdom and show the public you can still protest, we must still protest, and we'll do it in an organised way. And we learned from January 6th, and I learned from 15 years of organising demonstrations, they can only infiltrate if they can hide their identity. So we brought in a strict rule, no face coverings, we will remove your face coverings, and we've had 4 of the most successful demonstrations our country's seen. Our last one was millions on September 13th. The next one's May 16th, although there's a lot of anger brewing in Great Britain, so we're going to try and control it as best we can.
This might pop off.
This might pop off. We'll try and control it.
You know what was great about Unite the Kingdom? A lot of Americans, more than British people, think that Britain is far away and we're not that connected anymore. But Charlie Kirk had died that week, and there was a massive vigil that Friday night before the Unite the Right in the park that was right next to where you were doing your speeches from. And then at Unite the Right, there was a moment of silence. You guys played the American anthem. I might tear up here. And there was these huge pictures of Charlie Kirk on all the screens. People had made signs already because free speech unites the West. And I think Charlie Kirk is a sort of the ultimate free speech martyr. What are you texting?
No, I'm getting a song up ready to play now. I'm getting a song. It's about. Don't worry. It's about what you're talking about.
On stage with Gav. What
Gavin.
are you guys doing later?
I'm getting a song ready
There's
to play.
no bloody booze here. Where are you guys? It's probably going to be like another hour or something. Oi, don't know. What is your problem with the letter I, by the way? Oi.
Oi.
Oi was there. You sound like a Northern English farmer. I'm not serving you any more beers to get the bloody cows out.
I was getting, as you're talking about, I'll finish talking about Charlie Kirk because we played.
Dude, shut up!
We played a moment to Charlie Kirk.
You're at a thing! You're chatting away on your fucking phone! Just shut up! Holy shit!
Oh God, Kevin said it. I was getting this song up. This is for Charlie Kirk. So we've got a singer coming over from the United States. I don't know if you're going to hear this. I think it's beautiful. You're going to hear it? It's a bit slow.
And it's for
I don't have a song today. Can't seem to find the right words to say. I remember a time when freedom would reign. I'm talking to your neighbor to see.
Okay, I think we get it.
I'll get the chorus. It's Charlie Kirk died a martyr, not a name.
Now we lost the voice, the age, gunned down in a murderous rage. I don't want a civil war, no. Only God knows what's for, though.
Come on, get the chorus, Mike.
Gonna say his name.
You're gonna get kicked out if you keep ruining this.
Here we go.
Charlie Kirk died a martyr, not me.
Anyway, so
Security.
we've got that song being sung live at this event as a tribute to Charlie Kirk. I personally think there needs to be a worldwide Charlie Kirk Day, where every country celebrates freedom under the banner of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. Well, when he was shot, part of me was like, okay, I'm not going to say the G-O-O-D word, but part of me was like, now people can finally realize that our enemies are not mad because we're too radical. The radical left is just like jihad. They hate us because we're infidels. And I remember when this shit was hitting the fan for me, my wife was like, can't you be more moderate? Can't you be like Tucker Carlson? This is when he was on Fox. He wasn't the Tucker of today. And then Antifa stormed his house, and his wife had to lock herself in the pantry. And I was screaming, it's not about being not moderate enough. They hate us all. They want us to die. And Charlie's proof of that. So if there's any good that comes from that death, it's that you can't negotiate with terrorists.
I think the numbers of university students joining up to Turning Point UK went through the roof, did it, afterwards? Which is a good sign of resistance, because you'd hope that people after that... I listened to what Charlie Kirk said in lots of interviews, and it was about not backing down in the face of all of this. So
Hold on, I got to record this with my meta glasses. Go ahead.
they're cool. You're recording me on your glasses, guy?
Yeah.
That is so gay.
Wait, that's gay?
That is very gay. Look, I can see the little
Turning it
light
off.
on your
Turning it
glasses.
off. Delete that from the video.
But yeah, the Charlie Kirk. We're going to hold another beautiful symbol to Charlie Kirk in London on May 16th as well.
He's a hero. And so are you. The thing about your life is you and free speech are inseparable. And you started out with the English Defence League many years ago. and you said, there are grooming gangs here. I like you, I hate that word. There
Rape
are
jihad.
rape gangs. They don't groom, you groom a dog. You don't groom an 11-year-old girl. So there's rape gangs here to the tune of thousands of girls, and the state came at you with, they busted down your door, and you've since been to prisons. You've been to 10 different prisons. You've had 13 serious death threats, where, is it 13?
It's 13. So it's, in the UK, it's called Osmond. So it's where the police had intelligence someone was going to get killed and they didn't go and tell them. And then that person got shot dead.
Right.
So then they created a warning under his name called an Osmond warning, where if the police or the security services or the government have legitimate intelligence that someone's going to make an attempt on your life, they have to warn you so that you can then take precautions to leave, hide, whatever it is you want to do.
Well, you just go get your guns. So make sure you're...
No, Gav, no. Do you know, so 2 weeks before I come out here, and I see some people talking about this online. So ISIS have a magazine. Like, how ridiculous is that? But ISIS have a monthly publication. And in this month's publication, the police contacted me. In fact, they went to my child's house. It was like midnight. I was actually in the house. It was about midnight, and they'd gone banging at the door. And then the ex-wife's come in the room. She said, police are outside. So I said, I'm not here, yeah? She's gone out and said, he's not here, what do you want? We need to talk to him. I said, okay. I've booked a flight the next morning. So I think, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm getting out of here for now until I can find out what's going on. I get to the airport, mad story, I get to the airport, and I'm sat in a restaurant in Luton Airport, and this Muslim girl who's serving me, young girl, about 18, 19, she said, do you mind if I chat to you? I'm finishing my shift. Do you mind if because I was sitting on my own. Do you mind if I sit down and chat to you? I said, no, not really.
Chat you? Like have a conversation?
Have a conversation.
Right.
Yeah, so I said, no, go on, why not? Sit down. And then she sat down, she started saying, oh, do you hate me? Do you? And as I'm talking through her, she's from Luton, and I went through where she grew up, and she actually grew up in the area I'm from. And then she said, my dad, you might know my dad. I said, who's your dad? And she named her dad. I said, I know your dad really well. He's a Pakistani gangster. Like, I grew up with him. He was one of the main gang lads in their gang. And I said, I know him really well. She said, oh, I don't really speak to him. He beat my mum up. I said, Islam. Every point she kept making, I was like, Islam. And as we're sat there, my solicitor rings. So there's a video online that people can watch, which is of the police giving me this warning. So I ring my solicitor. My solicitor said, I answer to my solicitor, and she says, police are looking for you. I said, I know they're looking for me. They were at Jenna's house last night. She said, yeah, they really need to talk to you. I said, are they going to arrest me? I'm at the airport. I said, what's it about? She goes, no, they need to talk to you, Stephen. You need to ring them. I said, about what? She said, about a warning, there's a threat on your life. So I said, okay. So then I'm sitting with this Muslim girl, yeah, whose dad I know. I told her to go home and make up with your dad because she don't talk to her dad. But I said, will you record this conversation? She said, what is it? I said, I'm not too sure. So that phone call that people hear, which I released online, is recorded by this young Muslim girl who's 18, lovely girl she was, yeah, struggling in life. She was going through her own problems. She had her own, but she recorded that conversation. And as I'm sitting on the phone, the police like, Stephen, we have we don't have intelligence. You're named. There's a picture of you on the front of this month's terrorist manual from ISIS. And the girl's like, she's just looking at me like, what the fuck is going on? I said, yeah, welcome to my life. But this is what the police say, which they say in each time, which I went over on the phone with them. I said, okay, so you have intelligence that I'm named by ISIS to be killed. Can I just ask you, how many ISIS fighters have been allowed back into Britain after going to fight for ISIS? 2,000 have. Yeah?
2,000?
2,000 have come back. Yeah? 4 times as many British Muslims went to fight for ISIS and never joined the British military.
It should only be a few hundred.
Yeah, only a few. But 2,000, they're the ones they know about. But 2,000. And many of them are in Luton, my hometown.
Yeah.
So I said, right, so they've gone to fight for ISIS, they're swore allegiance to ISIS, they're trained, they've had weapons training, they're back. You're telling me that I'm to be killed at all cost. Right, what am I allowed to do to protect myself? Protect yourself. You're not allowed to do anything. If you go and get a weapon, you'll be prosecuted. And they actually give you this in black and white writing each time. Each time they give you a bit of paper. Do you remember Al-Shabaab? Al-Shabaab.
Yep.
Al-Kebab. Al-Shabaab, after the Kenyan shopping mall massacre, and I've got a video of this because I was digging through all our old footage for 2 years, from 2013 2012, 2014. I had a young cameraman who filmed everything for 2 years. We've never used any of it. It's some unbelievable footage, yeah? So I've gone back, going through this old footage. Now, at 3 o'clock in the morning, police come to the house. This is at our old house. They come to the house and said, right, you've been named by Al-Shabaab. And this was after they'd done the Kenyan shopping mall massacre. And in the bit of paper they give you, which their advice is leave. We cannot protect you. We can't protect you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Our advice to you is to leave, basically flee, go into hiding. And you're not allowed to get a weapon. If you do get a weapon, you'll be prosecuted. So literally, we're disarmed. The terrorists are armed. They're allowed to come back after fighting for terrorist organisations. And then it's us who are now targets. And I get a lot of this. Probably like us giving the location for here. People are like, well, oh yeah, why are you giving the location? I said, because I can't just live the rest of my life hiding over a few sand.
It seems like you've run out of adrenaline. I see this with cops sometimes, where they've been in so many dangerous situations, they're not scared anymore. I think that's why cops retire after 20 years, because they start getting reckless because they don't care anymore. And you seem to have run out of fear juice.
Yeah, I'm past caring. And I know my little boy's over there, but he says sometimes, Dad, what about that? I'm past caring.
Well, they win, I guess, if you live in fear. So
yeah.
you've been to 10 prisons, been arrested a million times. You're the only guy I've ever heard of in world history who's done 2 prison sentences for the same crime. And you know how with Trump...
And there was no crime.
And it wasn't a crime.
For the same crime, there was no crime.
It was contempt of court. It's like telling the judge to fuck off or something.
It's contempt, which is meant to be a civil offence.
Right. So and when you look, the left likes to go, oh, he's a seasoned criminal. Just like with Trump, they go, he's a 34-count felon. And when you hear that, you go, oh, that's rape, arson, murder, petite larceny. And then you realize it's all the same bullshit charge. Your charges are like broke a hotel door, got in a fight one night 30 years ago, 2 contempt of courts for the same thing, releasing a documentary. Yep. What's prison like for someone like you in a Muslim country?
So prison's been, I've had different experiences in jail. From my first experience when I was 20, which do you know, sometimes I hated the police for 20 years. I was an aircraft engineer. I left school and I qualified as an aeronautical engineer. When I was growing up, all my friends were in trouble and I stayed out of trouble. Yeah, all my friends were getting in all sorts of chaos. I stayed out of trouble, but they were all still my friends.
I'm sorry, weren't you like the top soccer hooligan?
Yeah, that I don't class as trouble. I'm on about criminal trouble, yeah? Oh. That's a fight of football. But I was staying out of trouble, and then I was 20 years old. I'd studied for 4 years. I'd been an apprentice. I'd qualified, and I had an argument with an off-duty police officer. And
He wasn't in uniform.
No, he wasn't in uniform. I was arguing with my fiancée at the time. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. I never looked at what I'd done wrong, so I always hated them and blamed them. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning. We were arguing. He come out, turned up in a pair of shorts, said, right, you go that way. I'm going to walk her home that way, which was my ex-wife, which was to her mother's house. I said, no, you're not. In the court papers, which he admitted, he believed I was going to assault someone, yeah? He believed that, right? I wasn't. I didn't. So he rugby tackled me to the floor. Now, once he rugby tackled me to the floor, that's assaulting me. I didn't assault him. He attacked me, so I beat him up, yeah? And I thought that was normal anyway. Like, if you attack someone, you get beat up. And then I got a 12-month prison sentence for that, for my first offence. And I left prison and I'd lost my career.
But you weren't known as Tommy Robinson back then?
No, I wasn't known as anyone. No, I was just a young lad.
I've seen you in a few fights. What is the secret to knocking out someone so quickly? Is it you get them on the button?
I don't know.
You go for the bottom of the chin, it seems?
Just little man syndrome kicks in. I suffer from LMS.
But like most people go to prison, they sit in a cage and they get to walk around and stuff, and it sucks, obviously.
Well, I had a good time when I went to jail then. Like when I was not.
Oh,
I was 20.
You weren't Tommy Robinson.
I wasn't Tommy Robinson.
Yeah.
So I went to jail. I was surrounded by a male environment, all having a laugh. I made some great friends. I did. I'm just telling you, I'd made some great friends. I had a cushy prison sentence, but I come out of jail and I'd lost everything. I'd lost everything, my whole career. I'd worked for 4 years. I had nothing then. But when I was doing my apprentice, I was doing my apprenticeship for Britannia Airways, and I used to finish on a Friday at 3:30. I'd get picked up by some Irish developers, and I'd get taken to London, which is about an hour and a half, and I'd do a night shift in Merrill Lynch, the City Bank. We'd fix the ceilings, and I'd done that every single Friday for 2 years, and it doubled my apprenticeship wage. So I used to work a ghost shift. I'd finish at 3:30 and I'd work all through the night. And the Irish developer I worked for, when I come out of jail, I rang him. I said, I've got nothing. I've got no job. Yeah, I've lost my whole career, and I had a good career. Yeah, so I've lost my whole career. He said, I can only bring you on labouring. So I said, I'll come labouring, and I started labouring for him. And then when I was labouring for him, his plumber was emigrating to Australia in 6 months. So I said, who's doing your... And he was a big developer, this Irish gentleman. And I'm still friends with him now. He was a big developer. I said, who's doing your plumbing contracts when he goes to Australia? He said, I don't know yet. I said, give me your plumbing contracts. He said, what do you know about plumbing? I said, I don't know anything, but I'll know everything in 6 months. Give me your plumbing contracts. So he agreed to give me an opportunity to price his plumbing contracts, and then I set up a plumbing business, and I was on my way. And that's how, when I started my activism come 2009, I was in jail in 2004. By the time 2009 come, I had 2 successful companies, 7 properties. I turned my life around from coming out of prison. I had a mad year when I come out of jail, but I turned my life around. But going to jail then, to going to jail years later when I was put in prison as Tommy Robinson.
Well, wait, there's a missing piece here. So you were a violent soccer hooligan, and Luton Football Club, they're known as one of the most violent football clubs around.
I don't see, so this is going to an American audience, this sounds stupid, yeah?
Imagine you're a Mets fan, and you travel to Queens to fight Yankees fans. And there's a whole, like, Roman phalanx and structure where you go outside. There's deputies, there's lieutenants, there's a whole... It's a Roman war structure for Mets fans to beat the living shit out of Yankees fans. Let's go Mets!
Okay, so you don't think it's stupid, yeah? But
well, no, that's a ridiculous scenario I just described.
I'd explain it as probably I found my identity going to football. So as a young man, you have to understand that as a young man in Luton, white English were a minority. We were taught to believe everything was bad about us. The emblem of our country was banned in school. Every culture and every identity...
The English flag was banned in school.
When it was St George's Day, they sent letters out, do not bring in the flag, St George will be suspended. So all of these messages that are coming to you, it makes you feel ashamed, or meant to make you feel ashamed of who you are. But on a Saturday, we could bring 150, 200 men, all English men, who are all coming together for a common purpose. We go and travel the country together and we fight together. Now, you don't fight people that don't want to fight. It's not like you don't just turn up and start attacking people.
Right.
In a football culture, everyone wears a certain clothes, so you know who you're going to fight. When you turn up, the men are from the same culture and same background as you. If I was from Millwall, I'd be one of their lads, and if one of them was from Luton, they'd be one of our lads. But you turn up, you don't beat each other up with weapons. You just have a fight about who's the best football group. And I guess my thing, which my mum still moans about now, my mum's brothers were lead members of our football hooligan group. So as I was growing up as a youngster, all I listened to every Saturday, whenever I saw my uncles, I'd listen to who they had a fight with at football. And I grew up aspiring, thinking this was great. Yeah,
it is.
You
were correct.
But I'll be honest, I miss it.
Yeah.
I miss it. I miss turning around the corner with 50 of your friends, and at the other end of the road is another 50 men, and you run and you hit in the middle, and everyone has a punch up. We went to Bristol. We went to Bristol City, and they called us the Suicide 11. We were young. We were 16, 17 years old, 18 years old. We went to Bristol City. We'd gone into the city. We went then to Bath. And their hooligans had rung our older hooligans, because you have the youngsters, which was, at the time, we were the youth, and you have the elders. Now, the Bristol City hooligans had rang the elders and said, we're here, which was, they named an estate called St Paul's, which is the roughest estate in Bristol. Now, the elders were having a beer in Bath. We were young. We said, we've come here to fight them. That's why we're here. Where are they? So 11 of us went back into Bristol. And as we walked, we went out into a pub, and we thought they were in the pub. They weren't in the pub. And as we're turning over a bridge, all you heard was CSF. That's their hooligan gang. CSF, CSF.
And you guys were MIGs?
We were MIGs, so Luton
Men in
MIGs,
gear.
Men in gear. And as we come over the bridge, 50 of them are there, and we got absolutely bad. But and I can still see my friend Fashion. They were jumping on his head. We ended up running, and then when we've rang his phone, they all sound like farmers down there, down in Bristol. And then we rang his phone, and they said, "You mad little bastards, what are you doing?" And then we said, "Where's our mate?" They said, "We've got him here. We took him to the pub. He's having a beer." And then they dropped him off to meet us. And they were just like, "You lunatics, like what you're doing." But I used to thrive off football. But now I'm a 43-year-old father of 3. I wouldn't want my son doing it. I think it sounds pretty ridiculous. But at the time, as a young man, I was full of adrenaline. as many young men are.
Are you still a MIG? Are you still fighting with these guys?
No, I don't go.
Yeah, of course, you're lying. I don't believe you.
No, I take my children to football. That's
Your eyes left me, by the way.
No,
You're
because
like, no, don't do it no more.
I don't. But the football, so people understand that. I'd say the football culture is the last line of resistance in the UK. It's like they're the men that will stand up and fight.
Well, that's a perfect segue to what I was going to say next, which is, so you said, I've had enough of these grooming gangs. They're raping our daughters. It's the elephant in the room. Everyone knows it. The media ignores it. The elites promote it. The elites are doing it, in a sense. They want the votes, but they may also be involved. And so you say, I'm going to bring this up. Let's have a rally. But because of the yabo hooligan background, when you get guys together, you get an army.
So my first demonstration was in 2004. I called it Ban the Luton Taliban. And it was our young football hooligans. And we got 200 men. And we went to the town centre. And it was Al Mujahideen, who are a terrorist organisation. They had a stall every Saturday in our town centre where they were openly recruiting to send people to fight against British armed forces in Iraq and Afghanistan at the time. And I remember looking at it thinking, how are these lot doing this? And I went down there the Saturday before and the police were there. I said, what is going on here? How are these men openly doing this? And she said, it's free speech. So I said, well, let's see if it's free speech next Saturday. And then I went round the town and got all the lads, we were young lads, and got the men together and said, like, why are we fighting Millwall on Saturday?
You were about 20 at the time.
I was about 20, and we contacted Peterborough. We had Peterborough. We were playing, Luton were playing Peterborough, which is another club which is about an hour away. And I contacted their football group and said, we don't want to fight you on Saturday. Right? The terrorists are in our town centre. We're coming into town centre for the terrorists. We're not coming looking for you. And then on that Saturday, we went into town and the terrorists didn't show up for the first Saturday ever. So they weren't there. Now but the problem I had is I didn't do it as Tommy Robinson. I'd done it as Stephen Yaxley Lennon.
Don't say the real name.
Yeah, shh. And I faced a full-on attack. After that, every Pakistani gang in town, everyone wanted me. I was the most wanted man in town because I made leaflets prior to this, and I blitzed the whole town. And the leaflet ended up on the front page of the local newspaper. And the leaflet named their gang. Their gang is called the Gambinos. That girl I was talking about earlier, her dad was one of their gang. Their gang's called the Gambinos. And in the leaflet, I said that heroin dealing Muslim gangs are using
Muslim gangs.
Yeah, they're using heroin as a weapon to get our young daughters hooked on drugs so they can pimp them to paedophilic gangs. Now, this was 2004. This is what everyone now knows as grooming. And in the leaflet, I said, if I know what businesses they're using, we know as football lads, we know what companies use it, who's active doing it. How is no one doing anything about this? And because the gang's name ended up in the paper, and I linked them to terrorist groups in the article as well, that basically the leaflet was taken and put on the front page of the Luton News, my local newspaper. But all the Pakistani gangs after that wanted my blood.
It's such a weird, like, I understand starting a gang. It's hard to make money. I'm going to sell cocaine. I'll do a lot better. I understand if you're a violent person, you want to stab your rivals, and I understand all the drug war stuff. But you're starting a gang, and then one guy goes, what about if we also fuck 11-year-olds? I would go, no, let's not do that. Yeah, what if we get 11-year-old, 12-year-old girls hooked on heroin and slowly manipulate them until we can fuck thousands? And if we vote the equivalent of Democrat, they'll let us do it. I don't understand how that thrived. I guess it's Muslim inbreeding.
Well, it's what's acceptable to them. You can't think in the way you think. You have to think in the way they think. So when you see an 11-year-old girl walking down the street, you see a vulnerable child that needs protection. They see a target. That's it. They see a target that deserves to be punished. Because of their views on women, their views on non-Muslim women. And I know some people, when we started the English Defence League, we take a lot of rap and people talk about our poor behaviour at times, or you was a football hooligan, yeah? Well, if I wasn't and didn't have that upbringing of fighting growing up, I'd have run away after the first punch in the nose. Yeah?
Right.
It's the reason I haven't run away. It's the reason that I've continued to stand up. It's because I've been used to an upbringing of violence and facing violence in my hometown of Luton. So, but with regards to the Islamic gangs, what we found, fast forward 5 years, we get to 2009, that's when we set up the English Defence League. And it was after they attacked the soldiers in our hometown. So we're in Luton, 5 years on. By this point, I've got a successful company. Yeah, I'm doing well. I've got children. I've moved out of Luton with my family. And that same group that we'd opposed 5 years earlier, the same terrorist group, remember, we know they are. Kids I went to school with are part of that group. We know them, yeah? We've had wars with them growing up. So we've had that.
Who would not turn their ringer off?
So I don't think she can hear it.
Oh.
So
forgive
that
it.
same group is then doing that in 2009. And then we had a meeting afterwards, and the police turned on us that day. I was there that day. The police turned on us, and afterwards we had a meeting with some of the lads and said, we've got to do something. Like, we don't have a choice here, yeah? Because if they've done that, they attacked the soldiers and they spat in the soldiers' mums' faces. They spat in. Scott Muntridge was 26 from our estate. He died in that regiment. Michael Swain was 19. He lost his legs. And they absolutely took liberties. And every time you hear Luton, which is our town, we're passionate about. I think I'm quite tribal. I'm passionate about my school. I was passionate about my estate. Passionate about my town. Passionate about my country. I feel an allegiance to whatever it is that I'm linked to, and I want to fight for it. So each time they've done that to Luton, I thought every time you hear our town's name, it's to do with these jihadists and these scumbags who don't represent our town.
Muslims are like 60% of your town now.
They are now, yeah.
We went to a football match, which is a different sport there. It's soccer. I don't know if you guys know that.
The real.
So we went to a soccer party, and they get real mad when you call it soccer, by the way. I don't know why. But we were watching the soccer game. I'm just twisting the knife now. And I love soccer as much as the next guy, but you're a huge soccer guy. And so we're at your soccer party, and and you showed me the audience. You said, this is all Luton people. They're all white, by the way. And not one of these people live in Luton. And no one from Luton, who lives in Luton, was at the Luton football match. Because they're all Muslims, they don't give a fuck about.
So everyone in my generation from Luton has left Luton.
I will say one thing that was trippy: the goalkeeper at the end of the match took his gloves off, walked over to Tommy's son, and like a knight, presented his gloves to Tommy's son, who was probably like 10 at the time. Amazing.
Yeah, my son loved it. You probably don't remember it, do you? But yeah, so.
But there's two things going on here too. There's class. So the EDL, the soccer hooligans, they're seen as lower class. The elites, I think I blame Tony Blair for this, but he came with a stupid idea of importing hordes of I think they imported lots of Indians and it didn't go so bad. So they thought, well, let's do it again, but with Pakistan. But they don't realize that Muslims, when they get over 10%, you get violence, you get rape.
Over 2%.
And instead of going, oops, we made a mistake, let's just keep hiding their bad behavior and we'll still get the votes. So when you exposed it 15 years ago, it wasn't just anyone exposing it. There wasn't some posh, journalist at the Daily Record. It was a working class guy, and those are their two biggest fears: the working class and the Muslims we accidentally let in to get votes.
And we didn't plan it, remember. So I've gone from, had that little demonstration 2004, 2009, we set up, after they protested against the soldiers, we sat down together, with my cousin Kevin, and said, we have to do something here, yeah? We have to make a noise about this. So what are we going to do, yeah? So we decided to set up a group called the United People of Luton, and I knew what the police would do, yeah? So I hired a wedding photographer. You can watch these videos. They're on YouTube under Luton Protest, yeah? The channel's called Luton Protest. Go on and watch them. They're called the United People of Luton. This is our first ever demonstrations. And I went, and I didn't know you were allowed to protest. I didn't know any of your rights. I didn't know there was left wing, right wing. I didn't care. I was just earning money, trying to make money as a working class lad. And we turned up, and when we turned up, I paid this wedding photographer, I remember it was £450. So I said, I want you to just come film everything for the day. Film everything, yeah? So as he's filming us, we've got stopped. The police have stopped us all, and they're coming from everywhere. And then they're taking our names. What's your name? Where do you live? Take your shoes off, searching us. And as they're doing that, I said, I watched them attack our soldiers on that morning, 3 weeks ago. You didn't ask them their names. You didn't put cameras in their faces. You didn't search them. So why are you searching us? Why do you think you're treating us like this? And what they did then, they set up they kettled us in. And all we wanted to do was get to the War Memorial. There was probably about 300 or 400 of us, yeah? But there was women, there was a community. It wasn't all football hooligans. And then they kettled everyone in. And they didn't let anyone leave for 3 or 4 hours. My auntie had to urinate in the street. And as this was going on again, I was like, they wouldn't do this to them.
No.
Muslim women would not have to piss and urinate in the street. Yeah, they would not treat them like this, and so then off that, and then they smashed my mates. He was a black lad. They knocked his teeth out as they come past on a horse. All this is on video, and the horse comes in, he whacks him, and the police were all aggressive. They drew their batons on us, and then we've gone there, and after that day, it's gone from hold on a minute. You actually think you can treat us like this and it become more not about what the Muslims have done. It become about our local police think they can do this to us in our town. So that started. And then a week after that, there's 2 bank holidays in May. So this was on the Sunday bank holiday in May. And
Wait, I got to interrupt you. We have an important award I got to give you in 1 minute. I'm going to go get it. But finish that story. I'll be right back with the award.
Go on. Chuck out talking, you go. Yeah. Okay. What's he up to, eh? Okay. Okay. Well, so there was St George's Day on the 23rd of April. They've attacked our soldiers. You can check the date of that. I think it's mid-April. Then St George's Day is 23rd of April, when we all come out in our town centre to celebrate being English. They banned St George's Day. So when they banned St George's Day, I then organised in the first May bank holiday, we're coming into town, we're protesting. So we then protest the first May bank holiday. The police shut it down, attack everyone. And then after that, they raided 13 houses. One of them was my mum's house. They picked everyone who was influential and kicked their doors off. And when they come in the build-up to this, I'd set up a petition demanding that the terrorist group were banned from our town. So I tried to present, we got 3,500 signatures, no one would meet us, the council wouldn't meet us, the police wouldn't meet us. So we were trying to hand in this petition to ban the terrorists. They kicked off 13 addresses, one of them was my mum's, I wasn't there. And everyone they arrested, they get bail conditions not to enter the town centre 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 3 months. So we sat there and thought, so rather than ban the terrorists, they've attacked our soldiers, the police have attacked us. We want them banned, you're banned us, you've now banned us. Yeah? So the next demonstration, which is when it got heated, I rang the police before, about 500 lads, and at this time I went to every estate. Like in Luton, we have rival areas. No one likes each other, yeah? Luton's a rough town. But this estate hates that estate, estate hates that estate. And I went to all the estates. And I went to all the English lads and said, lads, on Saturday, we need to come into town together. And there were people turning up who hate each other. But I said, on Saturday, we're all England, yeah? We have to do something here. And when we met up on that Saturday morning, because there was, remember, the police, I was wanted, yeah? I weren't meant to be in the town centre, but they hadn't arrested me yet. But the other lads weren't. I gave everyone balaclavas. So, and this is the imagery that went wrong. And we all had Luton Town football T-shirts that said, no surrender to Al-Qaeda, because we used to wear them everywhere anyway, yeah? We had a real fight against the terrorists for years. So when we turned up, about 500 lads turned up. And you can watch the video of this, because it's pretty electric. And I rang the police beforehand, anonymously, and said, I'm ringing up about the event that's going to happen on Saturday. If you don't let the men get to the war memorial, I'm telling you, the town's going to burn. Yeah?
It's kind of what's happening on May 16th, 15 years later.
But we learned so much from these events.
Right.
Yeah? So from that, I said, look, lads, I'm telling you, I don't want to see the town burn. It's our town. Yeah?
Yeah.
But people are going to go here. People aren't backing down here. And at that time, I remember we met up, and some of the main Pakistani gangster boys who I know, I remember Nasser, this lad, he rang me up. He goes, actually, bro, he said, man, you're messing with, you're not messing with the Gambinos, is the gang. You're messing with the terrorists here. Yeah? I said, fuck off, tell them there's 500 of us. Yeah? Because there was 500 of us. I said, I felt so confident. I thought there's 500 English lads and we don't care. Yeah? And at this time, so we've marched into town, and you can watch the videos. These videos, and again, I paid this wedding photographer. So the wedding photographer's turned up in the morning. When he sees 500 men with balaclavas on, he's like, what the hell is going on? I said, we're hitting that town, yeah? And no one is stopping us getting to that war memorial. And we literally charged through the town. And we got to the war memorial. The police tried to stop it. You can watch the videos. Yeah? Everyone just charged through them. We get to the war memorial. We hold a minute silence. We say, hey, we're having a minute silence in respect of our armed forces. We respect our armed forces. You could have lit a match, thrown it in the air, and the town was ready to blow up.
Right.
Because we were outraged. And this was 15 years, 20 years of all of this. And at this time, it's like, no, now's when we fight back. So we're now ready to fight back, yeah? And then in that 3 months afterwards, there were 26 fire bombings. My house got blown up. A Cars were getting blown up. Mosques were getting blown up. Luton was going off. Luton was kicking off, and the police, and from the police being forced to attack us in the first one, the Luton police, we got told of the 60 Luton police officers went in, and they had British police support British Armed Forces badges, and they told them to remove them. This is afterwards, because Luton police were furious as well. And they said they need to remove their badges, and they'd done a walkout. All the officers said we're not, and they walked out. Yeah.
Great.
So all this is going on inside the police station, these arguments. We're going on the streets outside. The whole of Luton's ready to... Luton police, we're seeing them at the football saying, lads, we agree with you. We said, well, you stop crushing us. Stop crushing us and letting them do this. And even say the football hooligans, you may see, in my Oxford Union presentation, some of you may have watched it, there's 200 attacks against non-Muslim homes. Our football hooligan police officer at the time, the non-Muslims' houses and old people were getting attacked by Muslim gangs where they're driving them out of the Muslim area. Do you know what the advice was? Our football hooligan officer, we have an officer who dealt with the football hooligans, he pulled us at a game, he said, get 200 men down there. The only way you're going to solve it.
Oh, wow.
That's the officer, that's the police.
Yeah.
If you want them to stop it, get 200 men and get yourself in there. Yeah, that's the problem. The only language the authorities understand, and I learnt this with the English Defence League. Yeah, so we went from a group of Luton men, 2009. We tackled the groups. We we basically, because I saw all the government talking about the tactics of the English Defence League. For the tactics, we just follow. I just went on the terrorist group's website. They had their own website. They had a thing called the Islamic Roadshow, and we followed them. We went in the back of a lorry and jumped out on them in Wood Green. Then we followed them to Birmingham.
And you'd fight them?
We'd disrupt what they were doing. Whether they hold seminars in hotels, we'd turn up 30, 40 men. And that's how it started. But when we went on we left, we were the United People of Luton. We then changed our name to the English Defence League. We went to our first event, and our first event was in Birmingham. And that same group that had attacked our troops held an Islamic roadshow in Birmingham. So I'm sat there following them and watching what they're doing online. And a young boy called Sean, who was 11, was shopping in the town centre. And there's hundreds of Muslims. And I used a video of this. You can watch this online. They get this young boy on stage, and they make him repeat after me. And they convert him to Islam, yeah?
Oh, I've seen that.
And they're all screaming,
disgusting.
Allah Akbar. He's 11, yeah?
Ugh.
And I remember watching it thinking, well, they can't do that. You can't do that in Luton. You're not converting 11-year-old kids in Birmingham, not without a reaction. So then I said, right, we're going to Birmingham, lads. And I said to all the Luton lads, we're going up to Birmingham. We're going to do, the next time they're there, we're coming, yeah? So we looked and we went, it was a stupid move, because Birmingham's one of the most densely populated Muslim areas. We went there in a bus with 50 lads. The bus had no windows left. The police ended up locking us in a pub for 3 hours because they couldn't get us out of there. When they got us on the bus...
What a nightmare that must have been, to be locked in a pub.
It was chaos.
I couldn't imagine.
But do you know what?
What could you do?
Do you know what come from that? Do you know what? I'll be honest.
Yes, I do know what came from that.
As young men...
Wetting yourself.
As young
and
men...
a hangover.
At the time, it was a chaotic adrenaline rush. We were going into the enemy's backyard, i.e. the Muslim gangs. They were smashing all the windows in. But then from that, English men got battered, and again, the images ended up all over the newspapers. Now, only 50 of us went there, and hundreds, if not thousands, of Muslims come out attacking us, yeah? And I remember a picture of a young English lad at a bus stop. He had a green jacket on, and he was on the floor, unconscious, and there was about 6 Pakistanis jumping on his head. And the image it was in the Daily Mail, and the image read, "A fascist is attacked by anti-fascists."
Wow.
And I remember reading it thinking,
wow.
This was at the start of my learning of the media and all these things. But we went from that demonstration, we got battered, the images went everywhere. Now, what I did is I made videos and I went on football hooligan message boards. So after we done our event in Luton, there's 500 men screaming, "We are Luton Town," outside our town centre, singing, "We are Luton Town," and "No surrender to the Taliban, we want our country back." That song that you hear now started in Luton in 2009 at our first event. Everyone's chanting, "We want our country back." And I took the videos and I went on the football messaging boards for other clubs. And I said, "Luton stood up today, what are you going to do? Luton stood up, where are you? Where are you? Where are you?" We went from being beaten up in Birmingham, we then watched online as Muslims bulldoze Christian graves in the city of Manchester and in Longsight. So I said, right, we're going to Manchester, yeah? We announced that And we were only a little group with a Facebook page that said Luton are now turning up in Manchester against what they've just done to the Christian graves. And when we turned up, remember we've gone from 50, 2,000 young English men turned up. All of them like that. And I remember going, this is the birth of the English Defence League. I remember standing there going, what do we do now? Like, now we've got, and then we went from that, we went to Stoke, 4,000 men turned up, we went to the next one, and literally, I remember watching the police on TV saying, we don't know what to do, they're coming from everywhere. Yeah?
Well, how many was United Kingdom? It was like 3 million, wasn't it?
United Kingdom was 3 million. So all these, I learned a lot doing the English Defence League. I learned we were young, we were angry, we had to, the tactics we used and the, whether you call it aggressiveness, was needed at that time.
Yeah, that's what I want to get to. So they hear about this aggression, they hear about this anger, and they go, you're just a bunch of racists that hate Packies or something. I think this is going to be a huge bummer. So if you're eating, I would wrap it up and put it away. But let's see how much we can handle of what these grooming gangs are up to and what they've done to girls. I didn't want to cover this because we're sort of meant to be entertaining people, but it's important that people know that you're just not randomly mad at disco. This isn't a disco sucks movement. This is a brutal, unimaginable rape of children sucks movement.
So for me growing up, I had a cousin who was victims of these gangs. She woke up 13, 14 years old in a house, naked, getting raped by bearded men. Yeah? She ran out of the house, the prostitutes on the street phoned her dad picked her up, the family would ring the police done nothing. In the end, that girl, Jeanette, would end up climbing out the window to go back to them to get the heroin. Yeah?
Oh my God.
But she was a child. Yeah? So the police,
how old?
14, 13. So the police would just say, she's a drug addict. It's like, she's not a drug addict, she's a child who they've hooked on drugs. And then they've got her, yeah? They've took her. But do you know how many girls I knew? Like, another example, there was a beautiful girl, I mean beautiful, this girl. And she used to go out with my friend Mike. And Mike's known for punching people, yeah? His name's Big Mike, sorry Mike. But Mike likes a fight, yeah? And her parents didn't like Mike, because Mike's in our circle of friends who used to go out and get in a few punch-ups and go to football. She didn't like Mike. She always thought her daughter was too good for Mike. And then I heard through the grapevine that Caroline had been picked up by these men. Like, what it starts with a young man in a nice car who might be 18 or 19, picking up a 13-year-old girl, driving her around, showing her a nice time, spending money on her. She thinks it's exciting because she's with a group of men. And her friend, this girl's friend, I saw her friend a year later, and she said, have you heard about Caroline? I said, don't tell me. He picked her up, he treated her well, he took her away from all of you friends, he isolated her. Her only friends then are girls that are in the same situation who are going out with Pakistani boys who are older. He then started making her change what she wears. He then got her drinking, he isolated her, and now he's taken her from her mum and dad. She went, how the fuck do you know?
I guessed.
I said, it's exactly what they do.
But, and this is to the tune of thousands of times. But
I know thousands. I know so many. And that girl there that I'm talking about, she's gone now. She's gone. So I saw her mum. I saw her mum on a New Year's Eve. This when EDL's on, and her mum just went, how's Mike? Which was my mate who used to punch people. I'm thinking, yeah, I bet you want to know how Mike is. Because her mum didn't like. But then she just cried her eyes out. She said, they've took her. Like, his family drove.
Let's hear the extent of the horror. Like, branding woman, 11-year-old girl on her ass with an M for Muhammad.
There's a girl, that was in Oxford. There was a girl who was, they got a hot iron rod and they heated it up with the letter M. And they scolded her bum because she was the property of Muhammad. They took another young girl and they nailed her tongue to the table. They took another young girl out to the woods and they poured. If you watch our documentary series, The Rape of Britain, we've done a 5-part episode. One of those girls they took up to the woods, and after making her give him a blowjob, they then urinate all over her. But some of the, do you know what? One dad,
they poured gas all over her.
Poured gasoline
and
over her
with
pretend to light
lighters.
it. Yeah, and then they threatened the girls, the children, because they're only children, 11, 12, 13. They threatened them that they'll kill their mums and kill their dads. And most of these gangs are armed as well. Do you know one dad in Blackpool? I see a dad in Blackpool. So when I moved out of Luton with the English Defence League and started going to other towns and cities, it was a mass movement, and it went so quick, so fast, and it was exciting, and we were in towns and cities. I remember we set up divisions like you did with the Proud Boys, yeah? We set up, go on, the Proud Boys.
Proud Boys representing here tonight.
But we set up divisions in different towns and cities. And I can remember there's a song, Alex and the Bandits, and we went to one of the first events, and we're in a pub, and there's we've got music going on, and then a lad come out with a balaclava and no t-shirt, which was pretty symbolic for the English Defence League at the time, yeah. And he just started playing a song, and it became the English Defence League anthem.
Nice.
And he had a balaclava on, and he's singing this song. It was at the time, it was just like, what is happening, yeah? What is happening? And we were going from different towns and cities, and at times it was described as a drinking club with a website. But it was about giving people the sense of identity. The reason they couldn't break the English Defence League was because of identity, yeah? Because it was a strong identity of who we were as a movement. And then when we went to different towns and cities, I was meeting families whose daughters were gone, like literally sitting down with them. And I met a dad, and they took his daughter, and they'd phone him. This is a father and a son, Muslim, both raping his daughter, and they'd ring him so he could listen as they're raping his daughter. And do you know, he rang me. I remember after the English Defence League, I sat there, I kept in contact with him, but they took his daughter, she was gone. Because once a kid gets to 16, there's nothing the police can do. Once they're 16, there's nothing the police can do. That's no longer grooming, she's an adult. But they've got her, yeah? And he rang me like 3 or 4 years later. Tommy, she's home. So
She's
what?
home.
She's home. Mental.
Wow.
She came home with 2 kids. But she come home. But that's happening in every town and city. Men just losing their kids. And I remember, do you know the imams in Luton? When it was kicking off in Luton, the imams called a meeting with us. And I went to a meeting with their main imam. His name's Kadir Bask. He's basically the jihadi leader. Yeah. And they called a meeting, and we went to a meeting in the town centre. And at this time, as I said, there was a lot of trouble going off in Luton. A lot of trouble. Luton's got a lot of lunatics from our community as well. And they said, we've all got to live in Luton. That's what this is, the religious leaders. I said, yeah, we know. And they said, well, we're going to make sure you can walk down the street. I said, I can walk down the street anyway, lads. I don't need your permission to walk down the street. And they said, well, but there's so much chaos going on, because I think their taxis were getting hit and all these different things were going on. And I said, do you understand about our daughters? And I was on about the girl, one girl. I'll give the instance of one girl. You've took her. You've took her from her family. A man and woman, mum and dad, have drove the boy with the daughter up to our community girl's house to tell her family that she can't see her mum and dad anymore. And then drove back. Goes, well, it's her choice if she wants to convert.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be her choice if one of your daughters were taken. But we've become so weak, and there's no resistance to this across the country. The English Defence League then become a resistance. But you know, I learned in these quick years, I was invited when I set up the English Defence League by a Sikh group called Sula Punjab. SP, they're called. Now, in the 70s, the Sikh community, when this was happening to their daughters, every temple had to put forward volunteers as men. And they put forward men. And if it happens to a Sikh girl, 200, 300 men turn up. Yeah? And there have been wars. Now, I remember I watched the most recent one in Leicester. A Sikh girl was raped. The Sikhs went in. They done a restaurant, 3 houses. They stabbed them. They chopped them to pieces, the rapists. They went in and obliterated them, yeah?
Great.
19 Sikhs went to jail. The police tried to play all this down, yeah, at the time. But when the Sikhs went to jail, the Sikh community in every temple do fundraisers, and everyone has to put money in to protect the men who just lost their careers, to defend the men who just protect their girls. But the Sikh community learnt this in the 70s. So when I set up, I went for a meeting with the Sikhs who told us how they fight it. They said, this is the only language these gangs understand. You have to fight them, because the police are not going to help you here.
Yeah.
And this was the Sikhs giving me, and we formed a great relationship from that day in 2009. We still have a strong relationship with the Sikh community who, when there's been problems, for example, there's a Sikh summer school that was under attack, where all the kids on the estate are chanting EDL and they're smashing it up, and they're calling them terrorists. So then I went down there I went down there to speak to the kids, and the kids are like, when I went down there, I said, what's going on with the Sikh school? And they said, they're all fucking terrorists. I said, they're not terrorists. Do you know what I mean? They're not.
Muslims are terrorists.
Yeah.
Sikhs are, although it was a Sikh politician that made the Proud Boys a terrorist group in Canada.
He's a wanker
But
in
he's
Canada.
retarded.
Yeah,
so
he's
that's
a far
why
left.
he doesn't understand that Muslims killed 1 million Sikhs. So I asked you an hour ago what it was like for you in prison. I even had to go piss at one point, pretend I was giving you an award.
So in prison.
But let's talk about not Stephen Lennon in prison, but Tommy Robinson in prison.
Terrifying.
Because every time you tell me these stories, right before you're about to be killed, someone comes by and goes, "Tell me you're right. There's going to be something bad coming in the next hour." And this is going to sound ridiculous, but I feel like it's God sending you these little saviors to protect you because he knows what you're doing is right.
Okay, so I'll give you 1, 2, 3, 4 examples. 3 examples, different times. And for me, it's terrifying, no joke. Do you know me going to jail? It's like I feel like I'm heading to a death sentence.
It is, yeah.
And in the build up to it, you come saw me in Spain? No,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was all right. Before the most recent one, I pretty much reckon I had a breakdown. Well, I did have a breakdown. I absolutely was terrified because I don't know what I'm going to.
Well, you're a mortal man.
Yeah.
So when you get put in solitary confinement, when everyone in the prison is trying to kill you, and you're there for months and months and months in conditions that are worse than a dog. Dogs get to run around. We take dogs for a walk, and it's going to chip away at someone.
And all my sentences have been small. I face 10 years when I get back. You know, I'm on trial.
Now?
Yeah, now I face 10 years on October 26th. I'm
For
on trial.
what? The silenced thing?
No, October 26th. I'm on trial to do with Daily Mail journalist, and it carries a 10-year prison sentence. I'm on
And what's the
trial.
crime?
Causing fear of death to journalists.
Oh, that's the guy who doxed your home
The ones who followed me on holiday, and then I turned the
and
camera
took
on.
pictures of your kids.
And I said, I'm going to ask them some questions. That's all I said.
And you said, "What if I did that to you?" And that's
Now-
threatening.
Now I face criminal prosecution.
Wow.
I face trial on the 26th of October. But I got sent to jail. When was it? What was the first one? Peterborough, which is I get put in prison. I land in the reception of the jail, and you can watch this. This is on a documentary called 24 Hours in Police Custody. I get to the reception of the jail and I say, right, I was only doing a quick recall, which is like a few weeks in jail. I said, you know who I am? You know the problems I'm going to face here. I know the problems I'm going to face here. So I was sort of inviting them to just put me on solitary, yeah? But I didn't want, my pride doesn't let me ask, yeah?
Yeah.
I can't ask. So, and if you ask for protection in prison, you get put with the paedophiles, yeah? So when I get to jail, they say, you need protection. I said, no, I don't. And they said, you need to go on protection, you're going to get killed. I said, well, I'm not going on protection, because I'll kill one of them, yeah?
Right.
So I've done nothing to warrant putting myself with paedophiles. I'm not in the wrong here. So then it hands it over to the prison. It's there for me. I think, well, it's your problem, not my problem. It's your problem. So I got there and I said, you know who I am? And do you know my instinct? So I always follow my instinct. But I was only doing a couple of weeks in jail. Now my instinct, on the first day on this wing, as I walk in the prison, there were 4 Muslims in there who are local to me. They cut a man's nose and ears off. They got like 20. They got 20 odd years. But as I walked past one of them on the first day on the stairs, my instinct was saying, kick him in the head. Yeah? Because if I kicked him in the head, then instantly I have the fight and then I'm saved, really, because you're on solitary.
Right.
But then I thought, if I kick him in the head, I'm going to end up doing ages in here because I'm only doing a couple of weeks. I just want to get out of here. So I didn't go with my instinct. I've always gone with my instinct. So when my cell door opens, I come out of my cell. Because in prison, if you get caught in the cell, I'm dead. They're not going to fucking...
Well, they'll lock the door,
they'll lock
and
the
then
door
no one
and
can
then
get in to save you,
They'll
right?
stab the shit out of me. I'll be held in there. So the minute my door... I'm waiting every morning, and I lasted 3 days. Every morning when the door opens, boom, I'm straight out the door, back to the wall. And I'm just waiting anyway. So I'd go downstairs, so I'm safe, stand with the back to the wall, waiting for someone to start. And it was 3 days in, and this is... You can watch this on the documentary, and the man, an English lad comes up, and he says, you're about to get done with boiling water. Puts his hand over his mouth. I said, and in jail, you get boiling water, you put sugar in it, you throw it in someone's face, it takes your face off. Yeah?
Because it sticks.
It sticks.
You can't get it off.
So the boiling water sticks and you'll have no face. And I like looking like this, yeah? So I'm standing there, and I says, who's going to do me? And he says, like, say, cell 24. And I look over and there's Somalians at the door. So I said, all right, cool. And then he walks off. I just run and kick the shit out of him, yeah? I don't let him turn around. I just literally run over, I grab him, and this is all on CCTV because they played it on the 24 Hours in Police documentary. So I beat him up. Afterwards, I'm standing there like that, and in the interview, the imam's on the wing, yeah? Because they nicked me for a religiously motivated attack. But the prison didn't do anything. So the prison didn't charge me. I go on holiday. I get out of prison after 2 weeks. The prison put me down solitary confinement until I got out. So I spent 10 days down the block, which is solitary confinement. 10 days later, they opened the door, see you later. I went home, yeah? I went home, I took my kids straight on holiday. That's what I always do. Took my kids straight on holiday. I landed back, and I met a lad from QPR, a football lad from QPR. And when I met the lad from QPR...
What's QBR?
QPR, and this is a mad... QPR is like one of our rival football clubs. We hate them. Yeah?
We're supposed to know that?
No, Queen's Park Rangers.
Oh, one of them geezers from QBR.
Yeah. I met a lad from
I don't like
QPR.
them. There was some Millwall.
I met a lad from QPR, and it's called Queen's Park Rangers. And as I landed, I'm always looking, and I see the police. So I said, mate, will you mate? And it's 1 a.m. I've got 3 little kids. I've got 5 suitcases. I said, will you and your family just make sure my wife gets home if they grab me? And he said, yeah. I come up, boom, you're nicked. And they've got all the cameras. So it's on a documentary. You can watch it. They take the piss out of my height on the documentary. They say, what is he, 5'2"? Well, fuck off, I'm 5'6". And my mum's 4'11", so I made it. Yeah.
So that guy who came by and went, they're going to pour boiling water on you, that was like a guardian angel, and you've had
He saved me. I went to court. I got not guilty because once the court saw, I told them. You're allowed, under self-defence, you're allowed to act in self-defence if you believe you're going to come under attack. Of course I believed I was going to get attacked. I just got told I'm going to get attacked. What do you want me to wait for him to attack me? So of course I'm not going to wait. So I done what I needed to do. And then that was Peterborough Prison. Bedford Prison, which was probably my worst, but I'm not acting like I was shitting myself.
Well, they purposely put you in prisons with high Muslim populations because if they can't get you with lawfare, they'll kill you.
They put me in Wood Hill Prison, 2015, and look, my teeth look good, yeah, but they're fake. They're fake, yeah, because I lost the front 4 in Wood Hill Prison. I was in Wood Hill Prison, and my prison door opens, and 6 Muslims got caught with guns, bombs, and suicide vests, and they were on the way to kill us, and they got there 2 hours late. Yeah, it's like, have you seen the film 4 Lions?
Yeah.
They're such retards, man. So it's like they're so fucking stupid. But these Muslims have turned up. So we're in one city, and there's a video of them walking through where we were when no one's there 2 hours later. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've obviously fucked up. I don't know what's happened. They've got there late. They've got their car boot is full of guns and bombs. And then they drive home with no car insurance. They get pulled over by the police. So in the UK, if you've got no car insurance, the police didn't search the car. The police just seized the car. So they take the car, these terrorists go home, yeah? And then 2 days later, the company who have seized the car open the boot and they find suicide vests addressed to me because I committed blasphemy, saying, Tommy Robinson, you said this, you have to be killed. They found guns, bombs, everything, yeah? So the police had already come to see me and said, there's a big news story coming. Some terrorists have been caught. So they were trying to locate you through your phone. So they were trying to get you through my phone, through someone working in the phone network to try and find out where I was. But that didn't work. Then they turned up to the demo, got there late. So I went to their court case. And it was mental, man. The court case is at the Old Bailey. So I'm at the Old Bailey, and they're getting tried for terrorism. And I'm trying to think, what can I say? When they get convicted, what can I say that isn't contempt of court? Now, as well as addressing me, they addressed the Queen. Yeah, they had a go at the Queen as well in their suicide note. Now, what's mad is they were going through everything on their phones. They were watching porn and that. Yeah, so they were reading up the websites that they were watching, and they're all sitting there chuckling to each other because one of them, it's not very halal to be sitting looking up fucking non-Muslim porn, you little wrong'un. But as they get sentenced, we've got they only let 2 of us into the courtroom. There's about 18 of them, all big bearded mullahs. And so we're on the back row, they're the rows in front. So as they got sentenced, I just went, God save the Queen! Like, yay! And then the whole court kicks off. They all turn around, we're kicking them out. And then it's all kicking off in the courtroom. All the police come trundling in. And I remember there was a journalist who said, look, I don't like Tommy Robinson, but it was quite a moment in court. It was quite a moment in court. So I'm laughing at these terrorists. 6 months later, I'm convicted under mortgage fraud, where I pled guilty under a plea deal to drop charges against my ex-wife for tax, my family members. I took a plea deal to cancel the family's cases. I'm transferred for a paper, like a mortgage fraud, where no one lost money, yeah?
Yeah, I looked into that. It was like your brother-in-law was getting a mortgage and you signed a paper. That
I didn't sign any papers. So my brother-in-law earned 12.
Your brother-in-law paid the mortgage back in full. It was like the Trump thing. Everyone was paid back.
It was 6 years before. Yeah. So when we set up the English Defence League, the authorities went back 6 years on every member of my family. They went through every single financial paperwork, everything. No, we didn't even know. They got warrants for my mum and dad's accounts. Yeah. So because they were so pissed off with what we started. So with regards to, so my brother-in-law bought a house, say in 2006. The house was 80,000. I lend him a 20,000 deposit, yeah, to buy his first house. On his mortgage forms, we used to have a thing called self-certification mortgages. So as long as you put down a 20% deposit, you can certify how much you earn without proof. So he said he earned 20,000. He gets a mortgage, buys a house, does it up, sells it a year later. So the mortgage company...
That's exactly what Trump was accused of. by the
Okay,
way.
so mortgage company paid back. 2 years later, they come and nick us all.
So I think everyone knows you're innocent on all your stupid charges. The terrorists that were there to kill you, that fucked up because they got the timing
I'm put in
wrong.
jail with them.
You're in jail with them, and I mean, it can't be a coincidence that they say, "Why don't we put Tommy Robinson in with the terrorists?"
Why would I end up in a maximum security jail with
They
terrorists?
put him in the same wing that the terrorists who tried to kill him are in.
I saw them.
Out of all the prisoners
Yeah.
in Britain.
And you know, like from my point, I was shitting myself, man. I was shitting myself. And I just said to you earlier, I landed on the first night centre. I'm in the maximum security jail. First Muslim I saw, I went up to him. He was from Leicester. I said, "You know who I am?" I said, "Do we have a problem? Because if we have a problem, I haven't got a problem. But if you want to have a problem, we can have a problem. Yeah. But I'd rather do it looking at each other rather than some cowardly bullshit." So he said, "I ain't got a problem, bruv." I said, "Right, sound. Let me do what I got to do." And I was doing, what was I doing? I was doing 18 months in that sentence. And then I'm in my cell, and my cell door opens, and it's a paratrooper, British military ex-paratrooper prison officer, and he says, "When they come to get you, do not leave this cell. Your life depends on it." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Don't leave the cell, son. Your
That's
life."
God sending a little guy over.
Mate, I'm thinking, fucking hell, man. And then my door opens 2 hours later, it's him and 2 prison officers. He said, "You're going on A-wing." And because you start off on the first, when you go to jail, you start on the first night centre. You might spend 2 weeks there. That's your induction. You do all your induction, and then they bring you to a prison wing. There's all different prison wings. So this is in Woodhill Prison, maximum security prison, where I've just come out of recently. So they said, "You're going on A-wing." And I was like, "I ain't going anywhere." He said, are you refusing?" It's the same officer. "Are you refusing?" I said, "Yeah, I'm refusing." He said, "Right, well, you're on disciplinary now. You'll have to go before the governor." Then they lock you up, and then they move you from the wing to the segregation unit, because you're now in trouble, yeah? Which keeps you safe, because then I'm not going on A-wing.
He saved your life.
He said to me, "Do you know what?" And I named the bitch in my book, because he said, "It's impossible to put you there without them knowing that you're going to get murdered." Yeah. Now on A-wing, where they were bringing me, is where the Muslims who are doing 30 years, who I was laughing at in court 6 months earlier, they're all on A-wing. There's no cameras on the wing, so now there's cameras. Back then there was no cameras on the wing, so I'd have got killed. Yeah, I'd have got absolutely
It's
murdered.
demonic.
Yeah,
Sending a prisoner there because he's a threat to your political career to be murdered is demonic.
Well, and he said she'd have got done for corporal manslaughter, but for you'd be dead. And I was very grateful to him. But I then go to see my lawyers. So I go for a meeting with my lawyers, and there's a waiting room similar size to what we're sitting on now. And when I come back from the waiting room, and bearing in mind, look, I'm not a big fella, yeah. Everyone's
You're 5'2".
I'm blessed. My mum's 4'11". But everyone wants a piece of me. I'm the biggest target. I'm in jail. I'm shitting myself, man. I'm like, for fuck's. But I know that I have to react a certain way.
Yep.
I don't have a choice. Yeah. So and then we go into this waiting room, and I sit, and there's probably 10. This is the sad thing. There's probably 10 men in there, 3 Muslims, and I see the beards as soon as I walked in, because they all have the big beards, and I see the beards. I didn't bother sitting down because there's all seats. I just stood with my back to the wall. Prison officer locked the door. As soon as the door was locked, bang, we're all fighting. And as we're fighting, that's where I lost my teeth. I got battered, yeah? And it probably was 60 seconds, but felt like 10 minutes.
Well, so that was an accident. You ended up in that room.
Well, the prison officers locked me in there, so they knew what they're doing.
Oh, okay.
But it was the Muslims, I could tell by the look on their faces, they didn't know I was coming in there.
It was kind of an accident.
If they knew, they'd have blades, weapons.
Right.
They looked like, oh my God, it's like handed on a plate, Tommy Robinson. And then it's kicked off. And I remember the Sun newspaper run a celebrationary story. The newspaper said Tommy gets done, because the news obviously hit the outside that I got beat up in jail. But I lost my teeth. And then I got transferred from there. But do you know what's the sad thing is? You know the little wanker that I'd pulled on the first, when I said to the bloke, "If you've got a problem, we'll have a problem. If not, I don't want one." He's one of the ones attacking me. Always away with them. He's one of the ones attacking me. There was 3 of them attacking me. Then I get transferred from there, and I'm black and blue. And I land in Winchester Prison. And I go to Winchester Prison, which is I had a good time in Winchester after this. But I land in Winchester prison, and I'm looking, and then there's all Muslims there. And as I come out, I'm like, you? And I'm ready to bear with anyone. He goes, I'm a Christian, bruv, as I come out. And I'm waiting, I got locked up, and Tommy Robinson's on the wing, and I'm shitting myself again, yeah? Because there's loads of Muslims there. I'll say loads, 100 prisoners on the wing, 10 Muslims on the wing. It don't take many of them, yeah? My cell door opens next morning, there's 5 men waiting. They said, Tommy, we've got your back. I was like, oh, thank fuck for the Isle of Wight. These lads are from they're from a little island called the Isle of Wight, a British island, yeah? And if any of them ever watched this, I've never felt so, because I'd been on my own. I was always on my own. And I was like, right, now I'm not on my fucking own. Now let's see who's saying so. So then, and I had a good prison sentence. Madly, I had a kid, and this is a small world. I had 2 Afghani boys I went to school with who I was real friendly with growing up. Still have a lot of love for them. In fact, the most recent sentence I was on, one of them's doing 28. He's doing 28 years, Imran, and we spoke to each other through the imam. My first week on the sentence, this time the imam come to my cell. He said, Imran sends his love. I said, twin, like, 'cause he's identical twin. He said, yeah. I said, fucking hell, I'd spoke to him 3 years prior, but he's doing a 28-year sentence. But we grew up together. And so when I went in this time, the main Muslim on the wing said, twins speak very highly of you. I said, and we're miles away, we're 5 hours from Luton. I said, how do you know them? He goes, I work with them, because they're all drug dealers. He said, I work with them. I said, oh, right. And then I had a good prison sentence in Winchester.
What was the one where you walk in and you're looking up like a Clint Eastwood movie at all the prisoners and they're screaming at you?
Bedford Prison. So Bedford Prison's my local prison.
You enjoyed that particular...
No, I did. Well, look, I didn't enjoy... I enjoyed... I walked into prison, and again, I'm not going to pretend because I'm scared, yeah? I'm truthfully shitting myself. But I walked in, what was I doing? I was doing a 12 months, and I looked at the...
By the way, whoever's talking over there, I'm going to kill your entire fucking family. I'm going to start with your cousins and slowly work my way in, and you'll be the last to die.
I'm all right.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I walked in, and I looked at the prison officer on reception. I said, you got a brother called Mark. Bedford Jail's my local jail, yeah? So all the kids I grew up with will be in that jail. I looked and said, you got a brother called Mark? He said, yeah. I could just tell by looking at his face. I said, I'm mates with your brother. He goes, I know you are. I said, oh, right. I said, right.
This is a prison guard.
This
You're in with
the
prison guard.
prison guard. So I think I'm all right, yeah? So I said, right, where's all the Muslims? I said, which sentences? Because there was a big case, loads of Somalians in the town next to Luton. A couple of them got shot dead. There's a big case, and there was all riots in the Crown Court case. So I said, are the Somalian kids in here? Because you see, if someone's doing 2 years or 3 years, they might stab me, they might hurt you. If they're doing life, they're going to kill you. They're nothing to lose. So it's a whole different ball game. So we found out the Somalians are all on A wing. Most of the Muslims are on A wing. A wing's 300 prisoners. It's a big wing. There's little wings, B wing, C wing, D wing. Now, when you go to prison, you go to the induction wing, then you go on the wing. So I should be going the induction wing anyway, first, yeah? So I find out, I said, where's Jason? I started naming friends I grew up with who I know who are in the prison system. I said, where's he? Now I found out that there were some lads I grew up with from my estate who are on B wing. So I said, right, get me on B wing, yeah? I'll be sound on B wing. He goes off to see the governor. He comes back down. You're going on A wing. You're going on A wing. I said, well, hold on. Haven't we just established all the Muslims are on A wing? So we've just established that's where they all are. And anyone I know is on B wing. How can I be going on A wing? How come I'm not going in the induction wing? He goes, go on the numbers then, which is the protection with the paedophiles. I said, I'm not going on the fucking numbers. I'm never going on numbers. He goes, you're going on A wing then, all cocky. Like, you're going on A wing then.
The Muslim wing.
The Muslim wing. I said, give me a pen and paper. So I thought, right, because if I get killed here, I at least want him to get done. Yeah. So I wrote 6 pages out. In the British prison system, if you're in one gang, if you've got one postcode and your gang is having a trouble with another postcode, you're not allowed to be put in the same...
Yeah, that's the same with America.
You can't go in the same location of prison.
Right.
Yeah? I'm Tommy Robinson. These are all Muslim gangs from my town. Yeah. They all know me. I've had trouble with them for 10 years. Yeah. You can't put me on the wing with them because it's obviously what's going to happen. So I filled it all out, thinking he can't do it now. I wrote it out. He comes back out. You're going on A wing. I said, okay, I'll go on A wing. And as they've got 2 officers walking me onto A wing, and I just nudged him. I said, watch what I fucking do on here, bro. Just watch what I do on here. And as we've come on the wing, it's like, because in the prison wing you have three floors, and everyone's out on the railings. Everyone just stands on the railings looking down. So I've come on, and it's literally like they're howling. Like, what the fuck, Tommy Robinson? I was like, fuck off. And then they've walked me up to my cell. It's 10 to 12. Lunch is at, say, 12. They put me in my cell. I went straight to the window. I was like, because everyone goes on about paedophile wings in jail. I was like, if your prophet was here, he'd be on the fucking paedophile wing. And then I'm screaming. I'm literally screaming. But I'm doing this as a self-defense mechanism.
Yes.
I know I have to kick this off and kick this off now, or I'm going to get killed. Yeah. So I can't wait. Yeah. And they're all shouting, "You're fucking dead." And I said, "I've heard that for 5 years. I've had 2 black eyes, you shithouses. Yeah. I'm 5'6". I walk everywhere, and I've had 2 black eyes. I've had 2 bad beatings. I should be dead. Yeah. And I'm screaming it out the window. They're all screaming. Some black bloke, some black bloke said, "Who the fuck is this rascal?" And I'm like, "I'm on the wing, you wankers. I'm on A wing." And I'm shouting what cell number I'm in. Cell doors open at 12 o'clock. The prison officers open it, where you go straight down into the canteen. I walk into the canteen and say, "Who's fucking Muslim?" And a lad called Dion, who's from another estate, I know his brother. He's a little gangbanger. He's in for all shootings. I know him. He turns around. He said, "No, actually, man, I'm Muslim." And then a white boy next to him says, "I'm Muslim." Boom.
They were both lying.
No, they both
converted?
Everyone converts.
Yeah, for fuck's
everyone
sake.
converts. But I didn't let go of him. I didn't let go of this lad. I'm punching and punching and punching. And it's all erupted in the canteen. And then all the screws are dragging me off. I remember the same screw that dragged me there. As they're dragging me off, I just looked up at him laughing, thinking, and when they put, and I've never had an adrenaline rush like it, where I was drenched from head to toe. They put me back in my cell, locked the door. I've gone to the window, and I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm screaming. I said, "I thought I was dead. I just banned him." And I'm screaming at the top of my head saying, "Your mate just got fucked up." But that was the only way I survived, because the punishment for that is I'm then put on solitary confinement.
Perfect.
So I'm then taken down the block on solitary confinement. And I can remember, as I'm put in the cell, and as I'm put in the cell, there's another lad called Ryan who's gone back to jail. I grew up with him. He's been put in the cell next to me. So actually, you're looking through the little holes. And then the boy the white boy who I'd beat up, he gets put in the cell. Yeah, big beard. And then I heard, "Yo, Yaxley, no, I don't want no beef." And Yaxley's my name from growing up. And I thought, well, this is weird, because Muslims would want beef. I realised I fucking know him. Yeah, he's from where I'm from. I know his dad. So he's converted in jail. It's only then I trigger who he is. I think, "Oh my God, you little wanker." But then from that, and then the priest started on me. The priest come in and said, "You think you're clever, Tommy? You think you're clever, don't you?" I said, "What do you mean you think you're clever?" He goes, "I know exactly what you've done." I said, "I've survived, mate. That's what I've done, is I've survived. You're not happy because I haven't got murdered in it." And at the time, I'm then pushing, in Bedford prison, and this is where the prison system has a problem, because I'm in Bedford prison, and the block and solitary confinement is under the jail. It's in the basement, underground. And then everyone has little windows. So you shout out the window. And then there's 4 floors. So it's called window warriors, yeah? Everyone's shouting and arguing through the windows. Now I'm out there just shouting, "Fuck you lot," yeah? I said, "No one likes you." I said, the truth, this is the truth. No one likes you, yeah?
It's like Speaker's Corner, but in prison.
Everyone comes past my wing whenever I've been in jail, and they all give me the thumbs up, but they can't tell you that because you'll all kill them, yeah?
Right.
No, you're bullies. No one likes you. And as I'm doing that, then I'm steering them, because there's lots of Irish gypsies in jail. So I'm steering them onto the Catholic argument. I said, "Yeah, well, I'm Catholic, yeah?" And they start going, "You're a paedophile priest." And I'm waiting, and then I hear all the Irish start going,
and the gypsies.
And then the gypsies are arguing with the Muslims. And I'm just sitting there laying there thinking, fucking this place is about to erupt, yeah? I wish I could watch what happens when the doors open in the morning. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, they come in. I'm thinking, what are they going to do tomorrow? Like, I'm waiting for the morning to come up just to see what happens, because I know the prison's about to erupt. And then at 5 o'clock in the morning, they come in and emergency shipped me out, made me an ACAT, took me to Wood Hill.
Which is great.
Well, I was safe.
Safer.
I was safe.
Okay, so these are all crazy stories. I mean, from prison violence to a girl being branded, a nail through her tongue, these grooming gangs of thousands of girls. But thank God, it's 3,000 miles away, and our Muslim population is only 1%. So we don't have any risk of this happening here. So all your stories are irrelevant to Americans, because this could never happen here. And we're hearing about a foreign land.
Yeah.
Far, far away.
You're at 1%.
Woo!
You're at 1%. You had 4 successful terrorist attacks in 2 weeks. 1%. 4 successful terror. Just think of this.
We had 2 bombs in New York City last month.
If you was at 10%, you'd have had 40 attacks. It's just a numbers game. But all of these stories I'll tell you, all of these things from the English Defence League days were, remember, I didn't plan it. At times I didn't take it that seriously. At times I was just a man on a mission, fighting back against the police, fighting back against the system. And then fast forward to where we're at now, and Gav, you know I don't take it seriously. You come over to some events, I was still up with no sleep partying each time, yeah? I think I partied my way through many years because to try and deal with the reality of the outcome that, shit, I'm in trouble here, yeah? And my life's never normal again.
Well, they're not just threatening you. They threaten your kids. They threaten your wife. I talked to your mom for 4 hours once, and she said, because they threatened my children, and we were talking about how this war on children is a sign of mental illness. And it's funny that you're fighting pedophiles, and then you have these liberal Karens who are attacking your kids at school. And these Karens, that when you look into it, they're always getting divorced, or there's some scandal in their lives, and they want to project it on you. But that's a tangent. The fact that their numbers are only at 1%, and we're already seeing so many terrorist attacks. I don't know if you heard about the World Trade Center fell down because 2 planes went into it a few years ago. We had the West Side Highway attack. We had the 2 bombs in New York City. And for some strange reason, outside of Minnesota and Dearborn, they've chosen Texas. Texas seems to be the...
There are 600 Islamic network organizations working actively in Texas. They've gone from 200 mosques to 330 in 5 years. They have focused They're focused on Texas because if they take Texas, they take the heart and soul of the United States of America. If they can take Texas, they can take America. And if they take America, they've took the world. Yeah, they
took New York. Yeah, the mayor is Muslim. Never forget. Well, never forget for 20 years and then remember.
They took New York, but if they can do that, and that's why it's so pivotal for us in the UK. That's why me coming here, I felt such a need to come here, because if your government don't wake up, which I'm quite optimistic, coming here, spending time with Keith Self.
I think Rubio got you here. I think what happened was, because you were banned for 10 years because you're a ne'er-do-well.
Well, I illegally entered.
And when you were questioned once, you just ran away and left the airport, which I don't recommend. But your visa went through very smoothly, and I've heard through the grapevine from insiders that Rubio said, push this through, we need this guy here.
I looked at other cases. I'm here on a journalist visa, and I looked at some other journalist cases, pro-terrorist, jihadist sort of journalists from other countries who are all given visas, even though they're parts of terrorist organisations. So I think a journalist visa is easier, and I come as a journalist, and I'm working here as a journalist. But for me, it's so important to come here because if America has a fierce stand-up now, when I landed, you had 32 members of Congress joined a anti-Sharia caucus. That's now up to 60. I sat down with Chip Roy. I've sat down and interviewed some of them. I'm doing an event in Dallas with Chip Roy, Keith Self, another senator. I met Tommy Tuberville, other senators who are wide awake. Yeah, and bearing in mind everything that's happened in Britain, we had 30 years of jihad. We had soldiers beheaded. We had 26 children blown up at the Ariana Grande concert. We had shopping centre attacks. We had all these jihadist attacks. And in all that time, not one single MP spoke. Not one of our members of parliament. So you're at 1%, but you've got 60 of them who have joined up. I give a presentation to Congress.
That's a white pill right there.
I got invited. When I landed here, I went for a meeting. General Flynn took me with Keith Self, who set up the Sharia caucus. And I just sat down and said, let me tell you what they've done in Britain, let me tell you how they've done it, yeah? And let me tell you what you need to stop and how it's happening and what they're going to do and how they use your weapons against you. Because they hit Texas because they're going to they're using your constitution against you. They're going to use your belief in free speech against you. They're going to use everything against you, yeah? They use democracy to end democracy. That's what they're going to do,
yep.
Yeah? So I said, let me sit down. And I spoke to him and he said, would you do a presentation if we get members of Congress there. So I said, of course I would. He said, well, next week. So I kidnapped this American geezer. Where is he, Jared? So my cameraman had just gone home. I'd just worked for 4 weeks, non-stop. My cameraman went home, and I was sat here doing an interview, and there's a cameraman there. I said, what can you do? Can you do... He goes, yeah, I can do that. I said, I need you for next week, yeah? We literally didn't sleep, did we, Jared? We sat, and do you know what I found? Which is, I'm doing this presentation in 2 days in Florida University. I sat there and watched through, and what I wanted to do is because most people don't understand Islam or Sharia. I've got to know it now inside out, yeah?
I'm undoing my pants so I won't piss myself.
I thought what were you up to there, Gav? Eh? So I got to know it inside out, and it's important to know it inside out from start to finish. So what I've done is I've gone through each verse in the Quran where they call for murder, call for war, call for lies. They're not allowed to be friends of us. This is the verse. Muhammad teaches it. They cannot be friends of us. But some people don't want to believe me saying it. So then I looked through American mosques. I couldn't believe what I found, man. Like, I've got Florida, Texas, every state, every single state, they're calling for war, murder, takeover of America. Literally, so what I show in the presentation is, well, the Quran says they cannot be friends with Christians or Jews. They're not allowed to be. And then I just play on screen as the Imam says, you do not be friends with them. You only, if you've converted your old friends, you can only remain friends with them to bring them to Islam. But you have to hold hatred in your heart for them. Yeah?
I have to get one more award for you, but can you just briefly summarize your speech to the government, tell these people why they should be concerned about the Islamification of the West?
Yep, cool. So that's what my speech, do you like his socks? Gavin's got pink socks, pink pinstripe, looking good. But that's what my presentation was to Congress, and I was stressed about it because I don't think we had enough time to prepare it. And then when I went into it was a private meeting with Congress, and I asked to film it. I said, I want to film this. And it was a private conference. We weren't allowed to film it. As soon as yes, sir.
I didn't understand. I didn't understand a word he said. Anybody else? In and out of jail. Unbelievable. Our friend Sarah Carpenter over there arrested in jail too. She had a rosary and a tambourine. And she did a couple of years, right, Sarah?
For having a rosary.
Unbelievable. So you're so young to me to see years in jail. How does something like that happen?
Each prison sentence I've done I've looked at it and I've been able to get my head around it because they're not long sentences. Remember, some lads on January 6th done 4 years.
Right.
My sentences have all been baby sentences. So I've got 2 years, done a year, got 18 months, done 9 months. So I've been able to get my head around it. This next one, 10 years. Don't know how I get my head around that, but we'll see.
10 years, it goes away real fast, doesn't it, Sarah? In a blink of an eye. No, I'll tell you what, not even 1 day should be. Our country is in a lot of trouble. We see it, and I think the Muslim population is really a problem. My question would be to you, are there good Muslim people?
Yeah, of course. As I said, so look, just being honest, some of the best people I met growing up are Muslim lads. But they're not good because they're Muslim. They're just good men, yeah? And if they followed Islam to the doctrine and the word, they'd become bad men. So Islam's the problem. Not individual Muslims, because most Muslims, Winston Churchill said this, individual Muslims will show amazing traits. They show some of them are beautiful people, but Islam has the power to bring Europe back to the Dark Ages. So a good Muslim is one that follows the doctrines and the word of it. So most of the Muslims I know, or someone will say, yeah, but my taxi driver's a lovely bloke. Well, he's not following the literal interpretation of the Quran. If he was, he'd be out joining ISIS. Yeah? So the problem is not individual Muslims, but the problem is Islam. Now, most Muslims treat Islam like a buffet, like I don't like that bit, I do like that bit. But the bits that they don't like and they ignore, like the verses demanding war and infiltration and deception and all these different things that are part of it, they're the problem for us, because that's what they're now using in the United States to deceive and infiltrate the United States in many different groups across America.
My brother stops every morning, gets coffee, and the guys in there are Muslim, and they say they love the country, they love the United States, and they're happy to be over here. Should he be worried about he's being poisoned in his coffee?
100%.
What do you do, number one and number two? Here he is.
They're still working on these awards. They look like shit. They have still buffing them. Yeah, so the moral of the story is that Islam seems uniquely incompatible with the West. And Ezra Levant, who's here tonight, always said that, you know, it's dangerous to ignore Britain because they are a dystopian time machine of where we're going to be in 5 years. You've got, what, 6%? What?
They say 6-7%. Why Ezra's here? Let me just make a point about Ezra. I come out of jail in 2015. I come out of prison. I'd led the English Defence League. I wasn't a journalist in any sort of way. I was an activist on the street. Ezra contacts me and says, I want you to make videos. I said, Ezra, I'm too busy. I'm back at work. I'm making money, yeah? Because
you were flipping homes back then, right?
Yeah, I was flipping homes. I said, I'm back at work. I'm trying to make money. And Ezra said, well, let me just buy you a camera and send you a camera and make a video. I said, oh, fuck. And Ezra was persistent, so he sent this camera. I don't know how to... I'm such a technophobe still now, yeah? I ain't turning on a camera. I ain't working a camera. So he sent all this stuff. And then Ezra carried on and he asked a few more times and I was really couldn't be bothered. So I said, oh, fuck it. I'll do one just to shut up Ezra. So I'd done a video and I'd done it about Sweden, or I can remember it. I don't know. Where is Ezra? Where is Ezra? This was my first... You're there, Ezra. And this was my first ever video.
Jew, by the way.
This was my first ever video. It was about Sweden. And I remember I'd done a video because I retained information. So I just went on a rant about how bad Sweden is with Islam and all, everything that's happening there. And Ezra liked it. And then I went and done an interview with some lads. And I went and done an interview. And then they were done video and editing. So then they videoed me for the next video. I sent it to Ezra. Ezra said, who done that? I said, just 2 lads I met. And he said, right, we'll hire them. And then Ezra contacted me. He said, right, you're wasted, yeah? Because I said, I'm going back to work, Ezra. And at this time, honestly, I was tired, man. I thought, I've lost everything. I've been beaten black and blue. I've just come out of prison again. I've managed
What year would this be?
2015. And Ezra said, I want you to work for me full time and I want you to be a journalist, yeah? I said, okay. And he said, how much money do you need to do that? And I thought, it's my passion, but for the last 5 years, I haven't earned no money. When I started the English Defence League, they froze my assets. So they froze everything. But at the start of the English Defence League, I had quite a lot of money in the bank. I was doing really well. My business was smashing it, yeah? I was doing really well. So they froze everything. They closed my companies. I was starting again when I come out of jail. But I'd managed to keep the 7 properties. So I sold the properties, ready to buy a bit of land and build a house. Ezra offered me a job. So I said, right, give me 60, yeah? He said, okay, Sam, give you 60. And then Ezra set me off as a journalist. Otherwise, I'd never be a journalist. I would never be a journalist.
I think he saved... I think he saved a lot of lives, but I think he saved a lot of young girls getting raped to the tune of thousands. I think you've saved thousands of young girls from being raped.
And I think we learned pretty quickly that we're pretty good at it. Like Ezra basically said, you need to show everyone what you see. Basically, you need to take the camera, go out and show them what you see. So then we hit the streets with a camera, interviewing people, making quick videos, following the terrorist attacks, showing people the truth about what was going on. And then realised that we were bypassing them and heading straight to this, and people were sitting in their lounges at home. We were talking to them. And that was the start of my journalist career and making videos. Yeah.
Okay, so
thank you, Ezra. Cheers, bro.
So last point, we're way over time. We're gonna form a line by the Nutcrackers there if you want to take a selfie with Tommy after this.
We're doing a Q&A?
Oh yeah, Q&A. I forgot about that. Yeah, we're doing Q&A and then we'll do the selfies by the Nutcrackers.
All right. Right over
I
here,
love
if
the
you
fact
got a
he's got the
question,
flag
come on
and
over
Ray's
here
walking.
behind me. Anybody got a question? Come on, Sue. Really? Behind KDJ.
All right. Yeah, because we're going to walk over to that area where the empty chairs is, and that's where we're going to get our... You handle the questions. You're going to do that too? You got a question?
I got a question.
Handle the question.
All right, so Tommy, I got a question, and then I'm going to handle the questions from here on out. Yeah, I write for PJ Media. I told you that. You know, no lies here. What is your advice for the United States of America? You know what's coming our way. What could you say that would maybe help us to deal with what's coming?
Stop Islam. Stop it. Stop
Ow.
it now.
Stop it.
Stop all Islamic immigration. Stop any more building of mosques. Stop it. Halt it. Flat. Stop now.
Now, the Democrats say, well, we got to be inclusive and whatnot. I think that's a death sentence. What do you say?
I think when at the end of my thing to Congress, I gave them options of what they can legally do. But at the end of, so we drew up certain things and said you could bring in these laws and these resolutions, but that will only slow it down. Whereas if you want to stop it, you just need to be brave and stop it. You need to take away the recognition of Islam as a religion, because it's not a religion. It's a total political ideology that manifests and hides as religion, and it's about conquest and it's about taking over the United States. And to stop it, you're going to have some brave leadership who understand it. And as I said, I'm quite optimistic about the groups you have within your Congress who are brave and ready and willing now.
Well, we saw that in Quebec. Quebec has said no more of these mass prayings in front of Catholic cathedrals. We know what you're doing. It's illegal now.
But you just take away the protection of Islam as a religion and outlaw every aspect of Sharia and make it punishable and stop all Islamic immigration into the United States. Because nothing... I looked earlier, 99% of Afghanis want Sharia law. That means every 100 you bring in, 99 of them want Sharia law. 89% of them believe stoning is acceptable for adultery. Stoning a woman to death. That means 89 out of each 100 you bring in are thinking this way. If you look at any of the countries, it's upwards. It's the majority of Muslims. It's not a minority. The majority of Muslims believe they want Sharia law. The majority. So why would you take the chances? What good has come? What good comes? And even when you look at the Somalians who have been brought into Minnesota, is it? They've come from the hottest place in the planet. They're now in one of the coldest. Do you think they chose to go there?
Yeah.
It's like they have been. It's like a plantation. They have been brought in and put there because their birth rate will excel yours, and they are changing the future face of the United States. Your swing states. Look at your swing states. The illegal immigration was up 700% in your swing states. Their intention was that there would never be a swing state again. They were flooding the country so quick, so fast, like they've done with ours, that they would take every election. So, yeah, you need to undo it. You need ICE. The importance of ICE cannot be underestimated in the importance of the job they're doing to remove these illegal aliens.
Yeah. All right. Tommy, this here's Patriot Jeff. He's got a question for you. Patriot Jeff, go.
Am I tall than you?
Definitely not.
That's not the question.
I'll win that one.
That's not the question. There's a lot of woke left that hate Israel and hate the Jewish people. There's even a lot of woke right that are hating the Jewish people and Israel. Some of them they're called gropers or whatever the heck they're called. Groupers. Why or how did you get the courage, and what do you think about supporting Israel and the Jewish people? I know you visited Israel.
I think that it's pretty easy. Any of the Americans at this moment who are standing and saying they're against Israel and it's all Israel and they're on the side of the Muslims and we need a Muslim-Christian alliance, just do not understand it. Yeah? They haven't been brought up around Islam. They do not understand Islam. Come and speak to any European nation. Come and speak to French. Come and speak to Germans. Come and speak to any of us who have grown up around the Muslims, and we will tell you what the problem is. Yeah, it's Islam. Now, I first went to Israel in 2016, and I went to understand how they live, because I knew the problems they faced, and I knew that those problems are coming to Britain. And when I went there, I saw that the bus stops were sheltered with big barriers to stop cars ramming them. And I looked and thought, well, this is our future. Look at now our Christmas markets. Look at any of our festivals. We have all these barriers. So Israel was ahead of the game. In Luton, I feel like I'm surrounded by jihadists. In Israel, they're surrounded by jihadists. Most of these people in the United States, I sit and listen to them making commentary, and I think, what the fuck do you know actually about growing up around Muslims? You know nothing about how they are. You don't know how they behave. You're feeding into this bullshit about this Muslim-Christian alliance. And even when I went to Texas and I'm looking at these mega mosques that are being built, and I'm hearing all these people saying Israel's the problem, I think, who's funding that mosque that you don't want built? Qatar, Saudi, Iran, all the same countries who are probably funding most of these groupers are on their side.
It's a new big allegation against you.
It's massive.
You got your $7,000 and you kissed
I ain't been paid a penny. They owe me fucking millions. I'm not joking. They owe me millions, yeah? But I will quite happily, if anyone hasn't noticed, I speak my mind. There's nothing that stops me speaking my mind. I will be proven right with the test of time. I went, and we have to understand the difference here. There are Jewish groups, like the Jewish group in London, the Board of Deputies, who are a huge bloody problem. Yeah, They are pro-Marxist, pro-open borders, pro-LGBTQ, pro-Islamophobia law being implemented. But then there's a massive difference between these and the current government in Israel, because these groups hate Israel. So when I went to Israel, I realised the divide, because the politicians in Israel, who are pro-Western nation, who want the West to remain strong, who don't want to see us flooded, and I don't know if you saw my video when I went to Israel. I went to Israel, and I went to an area that's taken over in Israel by Sudanese and Eritrean Muslim migrants. And I spoke to Jews in there who said, we're being kicked out of our communities, that 97% of the schools are all Muslim, they've took us. So I sat there and thought, well, I wonder what those who blame the Jews for everything, who's done this? And do you know, when I spoke to members of the Israeli government, they said, you know, if we didn't build this wall, they've got a big wall. If we didn't build this wall, Sudan and Eritrea would have took over Israel. We had to build a bloody wall. Yeah. And your politicians aren't up for building the wall. So I just speak truth to power. I know there's problems on all sides, but blaming Israel, everything, I'm not up for doing. I don't see it. I don't know a bad Jew. I know lots of Jews in the UK. I don't know a bad one.
I don't know about Jew.
Yeah. I don't know a bad one. So, do you know what else it is? It's easy to hate the Jews. It's easy. Right. No one's going to shoot you. No one's going to punch you in the nose. In fact, you're going to get a lot of likes.
It's mainstream.
It's mainstream now. And it's celebrated. And I don't like being mainstream.
All right, Tommy, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, about a mile from Dearborn, and we were all told we must include these people. Were we lied to?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so we got the next question.
Easiest
What's
question
your
in
name,
the
Yes, no, is it?
Kim, we got Patriot Kim here.
Hi,
What's
Kim.
your question?
Before you started talking about when you went to address Congress, and then we kind of got interrupted. So how did that go? I'm very curious. What was your reception?
I had a great reception. I had a fabulous reception. I had a great reception before, after. As soon as I finished, they said, we need that on camera. I said, I asked just to record it, lads. But I am recording it now at Florida University. It's too long, the presentation, but to understand Sharia and Islam and what they're doing and show it as a presentation, it has to be long.
Absolutely.
So it will be recorded on Monday at the University of Florida.
Okay, great.
Gainesville, yeah.
I'm literally shaking because of the information
you've got to hear the imams in the mosques in the United States. And I went back and found them is it CPAN? Is that the name of your channel?
Yes.
I found them talking about taking over America in 1989 on there. Sitting open discussions about how to take over the United States.
One thing I want to make clear, too, is I avoided getting into the nitty-gritty of what exactly is happening with these rape gangs. It would ruin the night. I mean, people wouldn't be able to not bawl their eyes out and leave. So we purposely sanitized the crimes of Islam in Britain in order to make this night bearable.
Absolutely.
Can we this gentleman's coming from America for our demo on May 16th. Come on.
So, Tommy, this here's Lonnie's got a question for you.
First and foremost, I want to thank you for sharing your story this evening and for joining us, and it'll be a real pleasure to cross across the pond to march with you next month.
May 16th. Come on.
What date?
Yep. May 16th.
Did you dye your teeth yellow so you would blend in when you were in Britain?
Oh, no.
David.
Oh, yeah, you got a question for Tommy?
I wanted to get your thoughts in terms of Restore Britain emerging now under Rupert Lowe, and it seems to be spinning off in terms of Reform UK. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that, and also what's needed to get a general election going in Britain now, as opposed to 3 years.
The general public started supporting Nigel Farage because they saw that Nigel Farage was going to be the political option that was going to stop the boats, reverse the immigration, bring it to a halt. Nigel Farage's comments, not mine. He's not up for mass deportations. Doesn't want them. Nigel Farage's comments, not mine. Doesn't care if whites become a minority in Britain. We do. Yeah. Nigel Farage's comments were by 2050, Islam's going to become so dominant in the UK that we cannot alienate it. Now, if you're not willing to alienate Islam, you're not willing to tackle the rape gangs. You're not willing to do anything. So Nigel Farage is putting up the white flag. He's
also trivialized your arrest and your prison sentence. That was just contempt of court.
Every time something happened against me, it's like they wheeled him out as the member of the establishment to try. But the patriotic community of Britain saw straight through him and have turned against him. Hence Rupert Lowe. Rupert Lowe's been strong. He's been brave. I see Rupert Lowe has the ability to be Britain's Trump. So, and I've always said, you see, a lot of our stuff was a bit chaotic. Now we're not chaotic. We're organised. It's serious. Our country's at stake. Our culture's at stake. Our Unite the Kingdom movement, we've shown people all the lessons I learned in my demonstrations previously in where we went wrong with the police and then what we need to do. With the English Defence League, we always try to appeal to the young men who went to football, which is limited to 70 football clubs in the country. We need to win the hearts and minds of the men and women, the mothers of the British public to understand what's happening. You're not going to do that through acting like yobs. So we have become organised. We want to be the cultural movement. 9 million people voted in Keir Starmer. 20 million people didn't vote. 86 million Americans didn't vote. Now, we won't get those 20 million people in Britain. I don't know why no political party is trying to get them, but you won't get them through politics because they do not care about politics. They're from our background, working class Britain. They're not rich enough or poor enough to make a difference, but they care about culture and identity. So our vision, when we met up 2 years ago, when Elon Musk gave me back my voice, I flew back to the UK. He turned me on, and I was pretty deflated. I was pretty broken. I was doing the best content I've ever done with regards to the rape gangs. No one was watching it. It's pretty hard, Gavin. You've been through it, man. You know when they censor you and they take you go from here to there, yeah, and then you're down. And then when Elon Musk turned me back on, I thought, right, now let's fight. And now it's time to fight. So I flew back to the UK. I set up a meeting and I brought 15 people together. It's like say I brought 15 influencers. From Lawrence Fox to Cole Benjamin to Maya Tusi to all these different people. And we sat down for 2 days. And I think Americans need to do this, yeah? And what we sat down, booked into a hotel for 2 days and said, right, we've all got egos. Everyone's got an ego. Let's not talk about what we disagree on. We just need to concentrate on what we agree on, yeah? So we've started at 10 points. We gave everyone, we've done a boarded thing and gave everyone, what are your most 10 important points for Britain? What's your most? And then we took them all, we saw where we met, where we didn't, and we worked it down to 5 that we could all agree on. So all of us agreed that Britain is a Judeo-Christian culture, and that's what we need to concentrate and get back to its roots. We all agree against LGBTQ plus indoctrination of our children. We all agree against Islam. We all agree against mass immigration. We all agree for free speech. So let's agree on these 5 principles. And if we sit here now, we come up with a name, Unite the Kingdom, said, right, if you change the culture, you change the politics. So fuck the politics, because for us to set up a political party, we haven't got hundreds of £1 million, we haven't got £1 million. But we can change the culture. And if we change the culture on the streets of the UK, the politicians will try and ride that wave. And that's what we set out to do 24 months ago with Unite the Kingdom. We went from 30,000 people to 100,000 to 200,000 to millions. Now, we've done that by inviting the new media. So we got the TikTokers, we got the YouTubers, we got the podcasters, and we got 30 of them for the first event, which we gave them VIP. We told them, the mainstream media, I can remember the Daily Mail contacted me and said, fuck off, right? You're not invited, yeah? So we gave the invite to these new podcasters. We got them up on stage, we had 1 million people watching live, we introduced who they are. Follow these channels, support these channels. We built a new media, we built a new movement. And at each event, we went from 30 journalists. Last event, we had 185 new media pointing their cameras up at our event. So that meant it didn't matter, because at the time I was still banned on YouTube. But that didn't matter if I was banned on YouTube, because he's not banned on YouTube and she's not banned on YouTube. So we brought together Katie Hopkins, all of us. Jordan Peterson flew in for the event, because I explained to Jordan, we're building a cultural, we're going to create a cultural revolution in Great Britain on the streets. Yep. Jordan Peterson flew in for the second meeting, said, this is amazing what you guys are doing. Yeah. Because...
Yeah. Thank you, Lon. Thank you very much.
And that's it.
Elena, you got a question for Tommy?
I have a lot, but
Let's go with the first one.
okay. I was going to ask about Advance UK, but you covered that pretty good. My question is, with the current decimation of Iran's radical Islamist leaders between America and Israel, will that decimation affect Britain, England?
I think it'll affect the entire world, because they're the funders. Do you know when people talk about America first? America first. Everyone I've come and met here, from General Flynn to members of Congress, I asked them all, everyone I've met, what's the biggest threat to America? At the end of each meeting, I say, what's the biggest threat to America? China. Everyone said China. Everyone has said China. Now, if that's true, China has 100 days of oil. That's what they have.
100 days of oil.
100 days of oil. You've took out Venezuela. You've took out Iran. Yeah? Now, if you're America first, you've fucked China. Yeah? In that process, you've fucked China. Yeah? If China are the biggest threat to the United States, you've kneecapped them. Yeah? Now, maybe that's what Trump cares about. We don't know. I put trust in the man, yeah? But maybe for America first, does he care about the freedom of the Iranian people? Maybe he doesn't. But maybe he's still making the right judgment to decap the oil ability for China. And look where they're now having to all buy the oil through the United States. He's literally, so when I looked at what he's doing, I have trust in him. So I think that getting rid of the Islamic regime and the money. I even looked at Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. I made a little rant about it earlier. They have less wealth than Iran. Iran has more resources, more oil, more natural resources than the United Arab Emirates. Look what the United Arab Emirates have created compared to Iran, because Iran chooses Islamic supremacy and Islamic domination and Islamic caliphate. They're not focused on Iran. Iran's goal is not to just rule Iran. Iran's goal is the world. That's their mindset. When you understand their mindset, if they did have a nuclear button, they don't care that you've got one. They fucking press that. They'd be like, hey, because if you hit them back, they're all going up there.
Yeah.
Yep, that's how they think.
It's a win.
It's a win-win for them. Yeah. So yeah, I think I have been watching for years, and I know lots of Iranians, and I've watched the women rise up and felt passionately about those women each time. And I know there's 10 American soldiers dead, I believe, at the minute. 10 are dead. There's no Iranian navy. There's no Iranian military. There's no Iranian regime air force. Look at what America have just done for the weight of 10 soldiers. And that doesn't mean anything for the 10 soldiers' families, but your biggest enemy in the world, and all of our enemy in the world, was the Islamic regime.
And may I point out, we lost 13 soldiers with Biden pulling out of Afghanistan and got nothing for it.
Yeah, no one even really went mad about it. So I just think I think there's a massive movement that are funded to delegitimize what Trump's doing.
All right, Tommy, this is one of our podcasters here, one of our more popular ones, The Midnight. Midnight, what do you got? You got a question for
I want to know why they call you The Midnight. That's my question.
It's been a long time, but I never came out before 12 o'clock at night. And then it would just be easy to scoop up the girls because they're all drunk and I could just leave them on. And all my guys were all, it was,
Right on.
So, here comes the midnight to take all my ladies. But, we're living in much different times now. I've grown up since then. Now I'm like 11:45.
But 11 o'clock.
Yeah, but first of all, I want to thank Joe the Box, and I want to thank T Mac. I got to tell you, Teresa, you don't get enough credit, but you have absolutely worked your ass off to make this happen. So thank you for bringing Tommy here, because I'm so this is fantastic for all of us. I don't know if, and I know that you touched on it, but if I didn't believe in God before, I want to tell you that I believe in Him now. A few weeks ago, I was there with, we marched to Zohran Mamdani. We marched against the Nation of Islam, and we walked up at the Gracie Mansion, and all of a sudden I just heard this screaming and yelling off to the right, and the next thing I noticed, I heard Ali Akbar, and there was this IED that just landed at my feet.
Oh, you were right there for that.
Yeah, they threw it right at my feet, and if you watch the videos, everyone just started running, and I'm just, my boy 16, myself, he goes, Dad, you've got no survival skills. You just stood there and watched, looked at it. And by the good grace of God, that thing did not detonate, because I wouldn't be here with you today.
I love the jacket, bro.
It's the only thing I got out of the divorce. She got the house, the cars. I got the Louis Vuitton Supreme. She got the kids.
Fuck the kids. I love the jacket.
But I got to tell you, I want to touch on this, and I just got back from CPAC. And I had the pleasure, I had the honor to be able to, whether we agree with him or whatever his stuff is going on with Steve Bannon, but he's still the speaker for America's Voice over there in the war room. And one of the questions that he brought up is, who is the number one threat to the United States of America? Which was a blown away question to me. He asked, is it the actual country of Iran, or over here in New York, Zohran Mamdani? And by far, it was unanimous that everybody looks at Zohran Mamdani as the biggest threat to the United States of America. And I got to tell you, living over there in the Upper East Side, and when I will be driving straight to New York right after here into the city, is that we are dealing with a man that is very clear with anti-Semitism. He doesn't care about the Jews. He doesn't care about the blacks. He doesn't care about the Christians, not the whites, not the Hispanics. And when he refers to brown, he's not referring to the black kids that I grew up with. He's referring to the Islamic Jihad terrorists or the Muslims or whatever you want to call it, to people that to take care of. And coming November is a big election. Kathy Hochul is currently the governor of New York, and I boo. And I say a vote for Kathy Hochul is a vote for Zohran Mamdani, which I'm starting a new campaign all the way through for a man who's running. His name is Bruce Blakeman, and we're calling the campaign "Ditch the Witch" for 2026. But my question for you is, we know who he is. He's not even hiding it right now. He ripped off, the very first day, he ripped up Executive Order 61, which was the protection of all the synagogues in New York City. Basically said, the whole Jewish community, you're on your own. He wouldn't meet with the priests, where every mayor has sat down with breakfast and lunch with the priests. His wife was very vocal about how
he's made it illegal for New York City to celebrate the 250-year anniversary of America.
Yes, he did.
We've already got 200 men, 200 patriots. We will be marching right to Times Square on July 3rd to say fuck you to Zohran Mamdani. This is our city, and I'm sure I'm probably gonna be in prison.
You'd have been in the EDL.
Yeah, but my question for you is, how do we get rid of a man like this? The country knows, the world knows, and it seems like, and I got to tell you, the Democrats, they work very hard. One thing I got to say is they know, even if their message is shit, they stick together, they work. How do we wake up the conservative movement and the Republican movement and say we've all got to unite and get together? America's got to be first. This is good versus evil. This is not about Republicans and Democrats anymore. This is either you're a good guy or you're a bad guy, and somebody needs to show up for the United States of America.
Come on, Midnight. Yeah. Come on. Have you seen the covert recording of his campaign manager when he's out on a date? So I used it in my presentation to Congress. So one of my friends, his partner, does these covert dates, and she went with Mamdani's campaign manager. And what he says is, "Oh, we won it through the mosques. We went to 100 mosques a week, and in the mosques they tell them who to vote for." Yeah? Again, if mosques are telling people who to vote for, they need to have their charity status taken away from them that they're having. But he says this, and I don't know if you've also seen the footage, again, I used it in my presentation, where Mamdani's giving a speech in New York, and the imam gets straight up after him, and in his own language, calls for the murder of Christians and Jews, whilst Mamdani stood there. Yeah? But I actually think it's great that he was elected now, because if they just kept their mouth shut, they're going to infiltrate and get the numbers and control places by being quiet. But they're not being quiet, they're being very vocal. Mamdani being elected is, so most Americans viewing him as the biggest threat is good, because it means most Americans are now awake. If he didn't get elected, they probably still wouldn't be awake to the problems that New York faces. So I actually think it's a blessing that it's happened now while Muslims are still at 1%. So you can electrify and wake up the Republican Party to realise this infiltration, this takeover of cities, it's real. Yeah, it doesn't matter what their values are, they're going to get elected based on their identity rather than their values, which is what we're seeing. So I think it's good.
I appreciate you, man. Keep pushing. We'll push here, you push there. We'll keep fighting together.
Cheers,
God
bro.
bless you.
Cheers.
The Midnight. Folks,
The Midnight.
Come on up, ma'am.
The Midnight's like a wrestler, isn't he?
Come on over. What's your name? Leia. Like Princess Leia? Yeah, like her. That's kind of hot. All right. Princess Leia's got a question for Tommy.
Well, that was my question, actually.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. We'll see you.
So my son's very MAGA, and he lives in Texas, and he owns many weapons on a ranch. So I'm just wondering, like, what do I need to tell him? Because he told me the last couple of months that Muslims are like growing out there, like, and he's like getting really upset about it. So I want to know what I need to tell him. What he
So your
needs to
attorney,
do.
Chip Roy's running for.
Yeah.
Chip Roy's running for Attorney General for Texas. Is that right? Yes. Now when I sat down with him, like, I asked, "What are you going to do?" And I've got a panel in Dallas next week with him to ask these same sort of questions. He knows what he's going to do.
This is Austin, though.
he's got a plan. So if he's elected as Attorney General, he's going to use law against them. So whereas we've been targeted with lawfare, he will challenge them through the laws and the legitimacies and want to know what every one of their organisations, including CARE, are up to, who they're working with, who's funding them. And I said, okay, that's great. Listening to him talk, I thought, you know what, this is great. Yeah? We've got a man here. And I had some people in the comments and afterwards say to me, yeah, but he said this about Trump. We have to, and all of us have to. And the same with, there's another gentleman in Texas who's had a lot of criticism because apparently he may have been a bit pro-Islam 2 years ago, and now he's really strong against it. We have to allow everyone the opportunity to wake up. And if they do decide to wake up, we have to support them when they wake up. If you've got a politician who's willing to take the fight on, and when I spoke to Chip Roy, he's already reached out to attorney generals in other states. Because the problem you've got, what's that game? Whack-a-mole. Yeah?
Yep.
One comes up, you whack one down, 10 more pop up. That's Islam. That's mosques. That's what's happening. Yeah? That's what's happening in Britain. That's what's happening in Europe. That's what's going to happen in the United States. So you need a federal approach across the whole nation that's going to combat these groups. As I said, 600 well-paid, well-funded organisations in Texas who are working to Islamise Texas. How many organisations are working to stop them? What,
None.
a couple of lads?
Brandon Gill.
Yeah. Who?
Brandon Gill.
Oh, he's great.
He's wonderful, isn't he?
But he's great. He's a future leader of America, man. When I watch him, he's a future leader of America. But then you've also got, but there's lots now. So that's why I come to America, and at first, when I went to Texas, and I went to Epic City, and I went to the mosque, and I went to the new local shops, and I saw all the teething things that I've seen in my hometown. I've seen the start of the Islamization of Texas. And I was really worried until I started meeting some congressmen and started speaking to them and realising that they are well awake and they're ready for a fight. And hopefully they've picked the wrong state to pick this fight in, which is Texas. But there's a lot of, I'd love to come here. I've already said, where's my new American? I'm hopefully about to build an American team. I want to come here and do some documentaries and really get undercover on what's happening with Islam here, which groups are operating. There's groups that have been working here for 30 years, well-funded groups who are embedded in your establishment, who are working within the Democrat Party, whose entire goal is to Islamize the United States of America. Those groups need exposing, and they need to be on camera.
What do you think? What do you think people are afraid of now, like right now, on Long Island?
On what?
On Long Island, here on Long Island, through going onto the city and everything.
Probably Gavin.
People like us who are real believers and who know the Lord has it, but they're too afraid to speak up. What advice would you give those people?
It's a lot. People can be afraid to speak up. You know, I went to DC, which is known as a Democrat city, and there was all the Black Lives Matter signs, and there was all the pride flags. And I asked people on the street, I don't know if you've seen this video.
I saw it, yeah. No one would talk to you.
They're scared because they had an opinion, but they're scared. Now, when a nation self-censors, that's what resulted in the grooming gangs. That's what resulted in the mess we're in. It's what resulted in happening to Ireland. I thought America is the land of the free and very opinionated Americans, but I met a city full of people who are already self-censoring. So, but when your elected officials are becoming so vocal, I mean, some of the comments, what's the other gentleman's name? There's another gentleman. I sat in front of them and said, lads, you'd all be in trouble in the United Kingdom. This is your congressman. Yeah? You'd all be on prevent counter-terrorism courses. I've been looking at your tweets. Yeah? So when you've got, the idea is, what I tell people is, if you leave one person to fight this fight, they're going to get taken down and it's going to be difficult for them. Everyone needs to speak up. Everyone needs to be unafraid. And anyone who is speaking up, i.e. your congressman, if your congressman here on Long Island, is he part of the Sharia caucus? And if he's not, get on his case, get in his office, ask him why he's not. Why is he not joining this movement? And I take confidence in the fact that you've got some brave politicians already. And I think that the 95%, which I think was courtesy of Steve Bannon, yeah, the 95% vote that happened in Texas for being against Sharia showed the rest of the Republican Party this is a vote winner. This is a massive issue. Sharia Islam is a massive issue for the Republican voters. So Republican politicians will know they have to be strong on that if they want the base and the support. And many of them are now making that a vocal part of their campaigns.
Great job. Persians for Trump. Persians for Trump. I love this shirt. What's your name, sir?
All right, my name is Nima.
Nima. I got to hold it.
Nima.
All right, I'm the guy you see, the handsome gentleman always behind President Trump, good looking, Persians for Trump shirt. And just want to say to my fellow Persian community, Durud bar shoma, marg bar Jomhuriye Islami Javid Shah. That means greetings be unto you, dead to the Islamic regime. Long live the king.
Nice. Do you have a
Great
question for
question.
Tommy yet?
Yeah, so what exactly, sir, with all due respect, what exactly is your stance on the people of Iran fighting for freedom and finally getting the chance after 47 years against the Islamic regime?
My stance has been pretty clear on this from the start, is that it's a historical wrong where the West sided with the Ayatollah and actually helped the enslavement of a population of 80 million Persians. And my advice to Americans who are trying to weigh the situation up as being similar to Afghanistan and Iraq is that it's nothing like that. Because in Afghanistan, 99% of the people want Sharia law. In Iran, the people want freedom. They don't want to be living under Islam. If you saw how many mosques were being burned by the Iranian people, they are a people who want freedom, they're rich in culture and identity, and it's not that of Sharia. So it's two very different stories. So I can understand the American base who don't want war and don't want conflict thinking that Iran is going to be the same as Afghanistan and Iraq, but I really don't think it is. So the people are very different. I think that there's a massive divide. In the UK, any Persian immigration that's come from Iran are pro-patriot, pro-nationalist, pro-British. They stand with us, they stand with Israel, they are always on our side. It's a totally different migration background to those from other Islamic nations. So yeah, my vocals have been from the start is that I want to see the people of Iran free. Do you know when we look, and you have to think about this, because if you're an American, you might have been scared to speak at some point, right? Many of you have been worried about losing your jobs. These women who are taking off their hijabs in Iran, they're going to get murdered, yeah? And they're still taking them off. When they come out and protest, they're going to get executed. And they're still coming out and protesting. So if you want to look at courage and really look to who to aspire to as a people in rising up against a corrupt government, then there's no better in our generation to look at than the Persian people who have took to the streets and been slaughtered. Yeah.
And they're all hot, too. There's not an ugly Iranian woman.
Oh, they're stunning, man.
I mean, if you want to put
I
abos
can't wait
in
till
a
they're free. I'm
burqa,
going straight to Persia.
that would make sense. But why would you cover up such a hot chick?
They are so stunning.
I've never seen an ugly one once.
All right, we got another question. What's your name, ma'am? Was it? Zir, no way! OMG, Marie Zir, I know you. I've been to your house. Marie, do you have a question for Tommy Robbins? Come over here because the camera's over.
I have a question and
I
a
gotta
statement.
hold the microphone. That's my.
Oh, that's your job?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, good job.
He likes that microphone.
What do you got for Tommy?
Tommy, I think we're wasting our time with the elections. What's happening with all the mosques that are being built? Nobody's paying attention to the mosques being built. Now, I'm a commercial real estate broker, and I studied about the Quran, and I studied Islam since 2006. For 20 years, I've been beating the drums like you, not going to prison, but I have a mouth. And here's the problem. The problem is we're not paying attention to the zoning laws. They're building mosques left and right without stopping the mosques. We're not going to go anywhere. We're just going to eventually fade out, and we're all going to go. They're going to take over. I have a solution, and I wrote it up 10 years ago, and I gave it to the mayor in Texas who was complaining because she lost a lawsuit. There is a law in the United States called RILUPA. RILUPA is a real estate land use zoning, and this RILUPA it's federated, it's federal, and you can't stop it. But I have a solution to stop it. I'd be willing to offer it to you. I don't know what it's like in England, but we in the whole world have to get together and stop the mosques from progressing, because first they build the mosque and then they bring the people, and it's not going to stop unless we're able to tackle that. I'd like your comment on the mosque.
Again, I wouldn't build another mosque, and I don't think they should. A mosque is a command and control center. And again, in the presentation to Congress, I showed not just my opinion of that, but President Erdogan, who said that the dome is the helmet, the minaret is the bayonet, the faithful are our soldiers, and the mosque is our barracks. So every war has always been launched from the mosques.
That's right.
Any war, anywhere. We have to stop pretending that a mosque is somewhere they pray.
That's
the
right.
mosque is the command and
barracks.
control center.
Right.
It's an army barracks.
There's racks
That's
of
right.
radical propaganda when you walk in.
Yeah.
Shelves and shelves of radical pamphlets and propaganda.
And again, what I tried to do in that presentation, which I'm going to try and do in 2 days in Florida, is none of it's my opinion. Let's listen to what they say.
Yeah,
Colonel
That's
Gaddafi,
the way to do it.
Colonel Gaddafi said that the biggest weapon we have is the woman's womb, and we will take over Europe without raising a sword. Yeah. Erdogan said, don't have 3, have 5. Have these many children to take over. It's not a fluke how many babies they're having. They use it as a weapon. Procreation is a weapon of Islam.
And I agree, I think it is a weapon, and we should use it.
Yeah,
Make
but-
babies, get married, have kids.
Yeah, but instead they're using the opposite against us. They're stopping.
Right.
Yeah.
What do we hear? Abortion. Save the climate, don't have babies.
I've never had one abortion my entire life.
Tommy, we got another Tom here. Tom, what do you got for Tommy?
So there's 2 things I want to say, and the first thing I want to say is loosely related to Islam, but more about immigration overall. Right now, there is a Dignity for Immigrants Act that is being co-sponsored by both Republicans and Democrats, which will give any immigrant that has entered this country illegally 5 years before now, so 2021 and before, is going to give them complete amnesty. And one of our Long Island Republican congressmen, Nick LaLota, is actually co-sponsoring that. We need to let him know to take his name off that sponsorship, as well as Mike Lawler upstate. So we need to keep that in mind, people. All right?
How's Trump allowing that? How's Trump allowing one of his congressmen to sponsor that?
Well, it's not just one. It's about there's many of them, including many Republicans, which is why we, as the people, where the Constitution says we, the people, need to open our mouths to our congressmen, especially those who claim to be conservatives. We need to start saying things. We need to start speaking up so they know how we feel. Because we cannot allow illegal immigrants to become legal immigrants in our country. That's not going to happen. We can't make that happen. Next thing I want to say is there are many tools, as you were saying, like Chip Roy, if he becomes Attorney General, he's got some tools he could use, different things we could use to possibly slow the curve of Islam in this country. But one thing I want to encourage everybody here, if you claim Christ as your Savior, if you claim Jesus as your King, then you got to get on your knees, start praying for this country, and you know what you got to do? You got to start converting Muslims to Jesus. That's what we got to start doing. And I would say that to you too, Tommy. I said it's one thing to march and make yourself known, but it's a whole other thing to have that incredible relationship with God. And I encourage you to get that.
Part of what the United Kingdom has done is spawned a Christian revival in Great Britain.
Amen.
Anyone who's been to our events can see it happening. There's a mass movement now of young men who are finding God, but they're not finding it within the church, they're finding it outside of the church.
Amen. Great job.
Cheers, man.
Thank you, Tom. Who we got next? Come on. You got a question for Tommy? What is it? Let's go.
Hi. Hi, Gavin. Hi, Tommy. My
Hello.
question is a two-parter for you both. I've written it out so that I don't take more
That's
time.
4 things.
Tommy, clearly you've learned a lot in the past 23 years of your activism, from when you were a young and dumb hooligan to now. I'm saying this with all due respect based on my research, so please know that. What's your take, and you're welcome to answer this as well, what's your take on people who've stated online that Jake Lang is your American, quote, copycat? He's no stranger to many of us in this room, but to those who don't know, Jake was the organizer of the Americans Against Islamification protest on March 7th in New York City, where several men in this room I know personally and I'm very close with were documenting and discussing what was happening, and whose lives were thankfully spared when the Muslim kid who yelled Allahu Akbar had thrown the nail bomb in the failed terrorist attack. Thankfully, no one was injured in this room. My question is to you, what's your take on Jake Lang, whom I've done a lot of research on, and also what is your advice, and your advice being the leader of Proud Boys, for people who want to protest but more safely?
My take on Jake Lang, fearless and brave. Doesn't mean I can't sit and say I agree with Jake Lang on everything because I don't know what he stands for on every other point. He was falsely imprisoned, right? Spent 4 years as a prisoner, and then was freed. I can only speak for myself. I spent small sentences on solitary confinement, and it fried my head and messed my head. It absolutely messed my head at times. I was broken at times and I had a real hard time. I don't know what Jake Lang has going on in his life. I'm totally unaware.
Oh, okay.
All I can say is that any man that stands up the way he stood up, some people could question, is he being provocative? Who cares if he's being provocative? For me, when I watch him, at times I think lunatic, but brave and fearless lunatic.
I didn't know that you're not aware of the more updated info on him, so that's all. But
I'm not,
I'll
no.
leave
Well,
it
he's
at
an
that.
interesting character because I'm told from reliable sources he's a scam artist and everything he does is fake. But that protest with the pig
Funny, don't
was fucking cool. So, as Enrique Tarrio said, if
I
he,
find it hard to believe. You know,
if he was a scam artist, he's still kind of growing on me.
Yeah, I hear because there's lots of accusations against anyone in our field that stands up and does anything.
Yeah, totally.
So it's hard for me to trust and believe anything I hear. So as I said, I don't know enough about Jake Lang and every accusation against him, whether it's true or whether it's false. I can only comment on the fact that a man knows full well people are going to want to kill him if he does certain things, and he's doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's your advice, both of you, for people who do want to continue protest? Because obviously this is...
For people
this
who want to
is
continue,
not-
I learned a lot, as I said, with the English Defence League, with my how to protest, how not to protest. I want my protest environments, which our last environments have been, to be safe for all those people who protest and to make sure they're not going to end up in jail. Because under my leadership of the English Defence League, lots of men ended up in jail. As I said, I've grown up a lot, and this is the most serious battle of our generation, of our life. And I think that it's important that people are able to come together in mass numbers because it sends a message not just to the establishment but to the others that you're not fringe, you're not isolated, and you're not on your own. You're mainstream. You're part of a mass movement of people who think like you, who want what's the best. Our views are mainstream, but they've made us feel like they weren't for so many years. So I think that peaceful protest is so important. But in amongst peaceful protest, I've experienced the way they're infiltrated in order to benefit the establishment and the media. Literally, when we'd have demonstrations, they'd be infiltrated by people to provoke violence, and the media would act as a weapon for... A totalitarian state has different weapons. The media are one weapon, and that media would then photograph and then bandish that across the country to then defame and slander the group of protesters, which is what I saw happen to the Proud Boys. I remember speaking in a meeting with the Proud Boys when they first set up, and I said to Enrique, they are coming for you.
Yeah.
They're not going to rest till they break you. Yeah, they need to end you, and they need to set an example upon you. So I've met people since I've been in America, and when I spoke about the Proud Boys who are like that, I said, you really don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, they're not a far right race group. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. So if that's all bullshit about the Proud Boys, if all the nonsense about me is bullshit, how can I comment on Jake Lang?
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you.
I'm
not saying we have Proud Boys here, but if we did, can we have a round of applause for the Proud Boys if we had any? I'm not saying we do. Tommy, we got Patriot Cassandra here, so he's got a question to throw past you, if that's okay.
So my beginning in grassroots politics started with the issue of Islam. I was living in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and at that time they were building a multi-million-dollar mega mosque, and it took years for the mega church that I was attending at the time to get building permits to build. Meanwhile, this mosque was passed under the table in less than a week, and it was funded by CARE. And at the time, our Rhino governor, Haslam, this is 2012. I'm in my early 20s at this point, but I was having dreams. And because of the dreams, so my backstory, heavy content warning, I'm writing a book, but my stepdad is a pedophile. And the things that he did to me, professionals have said most people with my story go substance abuse or suicide, but God's hand has been on my life. And when I give talks all over the world, I open with, I do not identify as a victim, but I'm having dreams about Muslim women in 2012, and it leads me to start researching, and I discover that their prophet is a pedophile. And so I'm looking at this and getting involved with Act for America. Brigitte Gabriel's
She's brilliant.
She's amazing. And so we see this, and geographically, like the state of Tennessee, Murfreesboro is the center, and it's surrounded by 8 states. And I heard what you said about the plan for Texas. But it feels like we are in for me personally, because of the way that my journey began and what's happening here in the city, it feels like a full circle moment. And I know that talking free speech is important. I know our right to peacefully assemble is important. But as far as actual strategy in holding our country and preventing what is happening in the UK from happening here, what is your advice?
Advice is that you need to wake up every Republican politician to understanding what Islam is. And if they understand what Islam is, they'll be willing to work against it. The problem is that most politicians get in and they plan a 4-year cycle, really, 4 or 5 year cycle. Islam's planning a 100-year, 1400-year cycle.
Right, yeah.
They're not planning for the next 4 years, they're planning 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. So if everyone is awake to what Islam is, I always say if the general public were awake to what Islam is, we'd have the revolution that we need tomorrow. But most people are lied. You have to understand the level of deception that's going on from the education system to the media, to left-wing groups, to Muslim groups, to CARE. CARE have been instrumental. Do you know CARE removed the words under Barack Obama? Even your law enforcement and your FBI agents, they can't use certain words, jihad. They've actually took these words out. When they control the speech, which come from CARE. So these pressure groups like CARE have been instrumental in the damage to the United States and the ability to even have conversations around this subject. So as I said, I think CARE are the most dangerous organisation in the United States. And I think that it would be great if everyone in the United States fully understood who they were and what they're. And I'd love to come back here and do a documentary on who they are.
Well, thank you so much. And like I told you before, I am a prayer person. I do so much prayer, and I have been praying for your protection. And God, His hand is on you, and He is just getting started with you. And I'm gonna get all of my prayer people to continue praying for you.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you ever so much, Sean. Thank you.
Can I wanted to say something about that. And I just want to make this clear, and I think Tommy agrees with me. We're not totally against women getting stoned, but it should be to watch like Animal House or, a movie with your friends.
So, Gav, I used to say to the ex-missus, I used to say when we was arguing about my politics, I said, if they win, I'll just marry 2 of your mates. Yeah? I can marry 2 of your mates, and if you fuck around, I can get the lads round, dig a hole, and smash rocks here. It's like, I'm doing this for you. This is to protect you and your freedom.
Well, in Islam's defense, they are pretty bad drivers. Gays are annoying.
Tommy, we got DBS 7.0 with the question. Go.
Let's go. So there's a few things that I've learned in the past several years. One of my 5 greatest discoveries actually was the full understanding of Islam, which was sometime in like 2007, 2008 or so. I actually read this book from a guy named Joel Richardson called Antichrist, Islam's Awaited Messiah. I think he got an updated version of that book, which is Mideast Beast. But my question is this. I'll say a few things, and then you tell me how you feel about, or you've had.
Our boys aren't great at getting to the point, I've noticed.
So there's Islam, the Quran is basically a mirror of the Bible, but in the complete opposite. For example, all the good guys in the Bible are the bad guys in the Quran. And for example, like the Antichrist, who we call the Antichrist, and all the things that the Antichrist is going to do, that's just what happens to be what the Al-Mahdi and Dajjal and Jesus are going to do in the Quran. So our false prophet is Jesus to them, who comes and tells everybody he's just a prophet. I just wonder if you actually have this angle, if you've ever approached this angle in part of the things you talk about, which is that, 1. 2, that Islam has about 120 or so violent verses towards Christians and Jews. And a lot of people don't understand that this is an ongoing thing since forever. We have this war right now with Iran, and everybody's blaming Israel, and Palestine has the right to exist. I like something that you said earlier about the person, the Arab is not the problem. It's Islam itself. There's beautiful Muslims who are peaceful and wonderful people all over the world.
But when they are infected with this disease, this cancer, which is Islam, they are subject to anything. There's no limit to what they are willing to go for their God to until the entire world is Muslim. So my question is, have you approached this angle? Is part of your talking points this angle of their parallels to the Bible, parallels to the Antichrist and end times, parallels to the violence in the Quran, then their ultimate goal that says all the world must be Muslim, or they will not stop fighting until all religion is for Allah. That's what the Quran says itself. It actually says, "O ye to whom the scriptures have been given, believe this which we have revealed to you through our servant Muhammad before we obliterate your faces and turn your head around backwards." That's directly to Jews and Christians. And it's talking to the people of the book, which is the Jews. So do you approach this angle? Are you aware of this angle? Have you ever gotten that deep? Or is it just your view as your experience? Because I think you experience more than what the US experience.
In 2011, I'd done 22 weeks on solitary confinement, and a Muslim outreach organisation sent me in the Quran. I thought, right, I'd seen all the problems. I'd seen Muslim playground, non-Muslim playground. All the Pakistani gangs were a problem, but I didn't understand it. So someone sent me in the Quran, so I thought, you know what? I've got enough time on my hands here. Let's have a little look at this, yeah? So I opened up the book, and every verse that says, do not be friends with Christians or Jews, I wrote down the reference number. And I made lots of different points and started writing the reference numbers and putting them together. And I very quickly realised that I had pages of references of do not be friends with Christians or Jews. So then when I come out of jail, I thought, right, now I need to get my head into Islam and to the Quran, because now I understand this book's the problem. If you have a book that's teaching children not to be friends with Christians or Jews, just like if all of us as white people brought our children up, do not be friends with black children, then that's going to create white areas, white ghettos, then none of them will be friends with black kids. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Islam. Then I understood and started looking in and understood that in the first 10 years of Muhammad's life, he was a peaceful man, yeah? He had 350 followers. Then he introduced war, slavery, piracy, robbery, all these different things, jihad, basically. Kill him, rape him, pillage him. And that's when he got his following. But then when you pick up the Quran, this is the hardest thing for me when I was in jail. I picked up the Quran, and one thing Muhammad says one day is next to thanks he said 20 years later. So I thought, this is an encrypted book, yeah? It's like every great war manual would be encrypted. And then when I started looking at history, I understood that when Churchill and Gladstone read the Quran, it wasn't in the order we're reading it in now. It used to be in the chronological order. Now, abrogation in Islam, which means whatever Muhammad says later in his life supersedes what he says earlier. So when we hear the peaceful verses, if you had the Quran in the right order, so I sat down and worked and created a Quran called Muhammad's Quran, Why Muslims Kill for Islam. Pick it up, yeah? And what it does is it takes the...
Can you say that one more time?
Muhammad's Quran, Why Muslims Kill for Islam.
This is a book?
This is a book I wrote.
Oh.
You'll get it at trbooks.co.uk. And what we've done is we took Islam and we took all the Islamic experts and put it back in the order that they say it's in. And we quote, it's like an academic book with all the footnotes, so none of it's my opinion. And we piece it together, and every peaceful verse, when you open the book, and the idea of it is, every bold verse, like you said about the verse of the violence, we put in bold writing. So when you open the book, all the verse and violence and hate is in bold writing. So you get the message quite quick, yeah? And when there's a peaceful verse, it just have a little thin line through it, yeah? And then afterwards, it has Surah 5:9. It has whichever verse supersedes it later in life. So you quickly see a peaceful verse, you flick to the verse that it says supersedes it, and you read, because on Muhammad's deathbed, he said, kill all the Muslims or Jews, yeah? Kill all the Christians or Jews. So for me, understanding Islam and understanding that when... Do you know your book? Do you know your Royal Marines? Do you know the song? Thomas Jefferson. Yeah? I use this in my presentation as well. Do you know Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter? And what he was trying to understand is American ships were coming under attack by the Barbary pirates. Yeah? And he couldn't understand why. So he writes to Tripoli. Say, what the fuck is going on? We're not at war with this lot. And the letter that he gets back, which is in his writing, yeah, and he actually, there's a Quran that he wrote on, that Jefferson wrote on, and what it says is that they are attacking us because Muhammad has instructed them to attack us until the whole. This is Jefferson, right? And then the song from the Royal Marines, your song, it talks about the land of Tripoli, which was the first time that the American flag was put on another soil in a war. And Jefferson said, his words, were, this is our first war. But this, if we don't keep our eyes on this idea, Islam, yeah, this may end up being our last war ever. So your founding fathers knew what Islam was. Now, at the time of Jefferson talking about that, he didn't talk about an interpretation of Islam. He didn't talk about an extremist group or terrorist group. They spoke about Islam. Yeah. Now, when William Gladstone, one of our great leaders in Britain, statues about him across our capital city, when he held the Quran above his head in Parliament, and he said, there may never be peace on this earth so long as we have this book. This book is a violent and cursed book.
Who said this, sorry?
Gladstone, William Gladstone, previous Prime Minister to Britain.
Right.
Now, when he said this, he wasn't talking about an interpretation. He was talking about, and when we looked in the research for this Muhammad's Quran book, we went through previous religious leaders in America, previous military leaders in America. All of them told the truth. Because back then, before this era we're in now, the military, the clergy, and the political leader's job is to warn the public of danger. Now, when there were no Muslims in the United States and no Muslims in Great Britain, they would just warn the public of the danger. The problem is, there's now millions of Muslims in our country, and they don't know what to do. So now, this great lie, which we call it the great lie, because George W. Bush claimed Islam is a religion of peace, 2001. It's never said in history before he said it. Yeah? Try and find it. Right? So he took that. And once it was said 10,000 times, it's now repeated in modern day society. Islam's religion of peace. Bullshit. It's never been.
Who said this?
George Bush.
But it's never been called a religion of peace. Not by any Islamic leader, not by any military leader, not by any British leader or American leader. They've all Adams. Did you used to have a? Who's your leader? Adams. One of your.
John Adams?
Who?
John Adams?
John Adams. John Adams told the truth about Islam. All of these people told the truth.
Well, the Marines were invented to deal with the Muslim
the
problem.
Barbary pirates. And the
Free
song
America.
and the song about Tripoli speaks about that conquest, about that conflict to stop the Barbary pirates. So yeah, my point is I got my head into I'm quite addictive. Yeah, I'm addictive. I'm quite addictive. When I get my head in something, I want to understand it. It's why I went to Israel. People say, why did you go to Israel? Because I thought if I'm going to commentate on it, if I'm going to comment on it, I need to understand it. So I went there. I risked my life in Israel. I paid young Muslims to take me to a Fatah-controlled refugee camp. In 2016, I'm on a terrorist camp. I'm on a terrorist camp walking around as leader of the English Defence League and fucking asked them loads of questions. They had no idea who I was. And when I got back to Israel, I put a camera on him and told him who I was. Said, my name's Tommy Robinson. I set up the English Defence League. He's like, yeah, his face, bruv. But he was a lovely man. He was a fourth generation Muslim refugee. I connected more with him than I did anyone else I met on that trip.
Oh, wow.
He was a good man, but he told me about, yeah.
Hold on. Are your jeans waxed? What is going on there?
Yeah, they're gay.
Are they Protestant? Are they waterproof?
Tommy,
they're pretty cool.
They must be hot as hell.
Tommy, can I?
They're pretty.
Well, they can't breathe.
They're pretty.
Tommy, I want to point out George Bush Jr. said Islam is the religion of peace 4 days after 9/11.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how I was like, I'm
night.
done with these people. Wow. Thank you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Awesome stuff. I'm gonna
Cheers,
read that
bro.
book.
Yeah, cheers, bro.
Thank you.
trbooks.co.uk.
How you doing? What's your name? Frank. Frank, let's go. Frank's got a question
Frank
for Tommy.
DeShank.
Go, Frank.
You make a great case delineating the problem of the Islamification here and in Great Britain. But it seems to me the bigger problem that we have, and that maybe you have, is that we have so many unaccountable politicians that don't have testosterone. And previously, the Dignity Act was mentioned. That act was co-sponsored, actually co-written by Mike Lawler, who was a New York GOP congressman. Nick LaLota and Andy Garbarino both support it, and there are 20 Republican senators that already support it, and it will give legal status to 20 million, illegal aliens.
So mostly Muslim.
How do you assess the problem? What do you see the extent of the problem is, and do you have as big a problem in the UK as we have here?
The extent of the problem in the UK, which is what's becoming visible for everyone to see now is that the Labour Party lost the Muslim vote because they didn't hate the Jews enough. So now we have last election we had 5 independents elected who are all pro-Hamas politicians. And they're defending cousin marriage and all sorts of Islamic issues. And it's been a real wake-up. I think
No
it's good.
dogs. People shouldn't have
No dogs, yeah. Which is Randy Fine. I listened to Randy Fine. What a man he is. Like one of your congressmen from Florida, Randy Fine. Jewish guy, but what a man.
Wait, what do you mean Jewish guy, but what a man?
But what because again, it's rare you find someone that just A, gets it, and B's willing to say it, sees a political figure. Yeah, that's such. I don't think the United States understand the state of Britain. We have had so many attacks, and not once since Churchill. Not one single political figure has mentioned Islam in politics.
Well,
650
I love
MPs.
Toby Young, Lord Toby Young. He will not be seen with you. He's all about free speech.
Lord Toby Young set up a free speech union. I joined and they sent me my money back.
That's so perfect.
Free speech union. I joined and they sent me
Free
money back.
speech for everyone, but not you.
I joined, but that's how successful the campaign to toxify who I was and what I said was. Now that's burst. It doesn't matter. And being in the United States has helped that. Many of the political figures I'm talking to in the United States has helped that. Many things have helped. Just 3 years ago, it would have been unimaginable for me to be having the platforms and discussions with people I am.
Well, you were in a fucking cage a year ago.
I know, man. I don't want to be in a cage in another year. I'm already fucking ill.
Tony, we got Pedro Mike here for Tommy. What do you got there?
I'm kind of piggybacking on a couple questions earlier about, the anti-Semitism online and the guys my age. So the guy who was up here earlier kind of looked like a stereotype kind of thing. So guys my age are really the problem, I think. Like, how do we deal with that? Like, where you were saying Christ is king earlier, but like they're saying using that against Israel, not like there's guys saying like Muhammad is based, Islam is based. Like, how do we deal with that?
We do it by having.
What's your opinion on like Tucker and Candace and these guys going full like 180 against Israel, against like? What do you think that is?
We do it. I think it's Qatar. I think it's a very successful campaign from Islamic nations. But what we do it by explaining to Americans, because I don't blame many Americans because they don't understand what Islam is and they haven't lived with them. And when they're hearing it, it's the Jews because they want the Christians and Muslims at war. This didn't start in 1948. Yeah? Let's not pretend it started when Israel was formed. There's 1,400 years of jihad. Do you know the Quran is 9% Jew hatred? No, Mein Kampf. Mein Kampf is 7% Jew hatred.
So is
and the
X.
Quran is 11%. Yeah? The Quran is 11%.
So is X right now too, you know?
Yeah.
I think the best solution for people who criticize Israel is to freeze their bank accounts and get them fired.
I mean, but like,
and then send them to a camp.
I think it just comes from education. So many in America have not grown up around. That's why I'm so happy I'm here, because I get to speak to an American audience and say, you've got no idea what you're talking about. No idea. In all honesty, what the fuck does Tucker Carlson know about growing up around Islamic gangs? How many victims does he know that have been raped? Jews aren't raping anyone. Jews aren't selling heroin. Jews aren't destroying our nation.
Hold on, Tommy. This woman is leaving. Hey, lady who's leaving, did you want a selfie with Tommy before you left? Lady, hey. Yeah, let's do it. Yep. Sorry, we've been nattering on here.
It's all right.
I don't
Let
want
me
to
come
lose
over.
her.
I've got to go get that trophy.
You got a question for Tommy?
I've got to go get that trophy.
This trophy.
I guess so.
Just a picture.
Let's do it.
Picture.
Yeah,
we can do
sorry.
that. All right. All right. Any other questions? Are we, folks? Let's hear it for Gavin McInnes, Tommy Robinson.
Tommy's Scottish, ultimately. I mean, his dad is from Glasgow, and we Scots tend to natter.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's do the selfies by the nutcrackers over there.
Gavin, I think we're going to have them do it on stage and come this way.
Okay, great.
It'll be better
Great.
flow. So, anybody, a couple of things really quick.
You're doing
First of
selfies
all,
here on
are you
stage.
ready to wrap up? Are we ready to wrap up?
Yeah, let's wrap
All
it
right,
up.
let's hear it for Gavin and Tommy, guys. Thank you so much. What we're going to have...
Yeah, I really
you-
hope that that the takeaway from this is a white pill, and that we see someone like Tommy survive this endless persecution, and we go, he keeps getting back up. We can keep getting back up and fighting this demonic force that's trying to crush the Western world.
And I'll just thank at the same time. I thank Gavin. I thank the host of this venue. I know Ezra played his part in setting this up, so I thank Ezra as well. And I thank everyone of you for coming and sharing the evening. I've had a nice night, yeah? Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Let's hear it. All right, so what we're going to do is, who did the raffle? Everybody have raffle tickets, blue raffle ticket, if you can get that out. We're gonna have Tommy pick the raffle. Tom, you want to pick the raffle?
Don't forget the app, Teresa.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to do it up here.
The America First app. Go to your app store. America First Warehouse got an app. That's where you see all the fun stuff. Everyone goes to the app.
All right, you guys got your tickets out, your blue tickets? Everyone? Do we get the gold bag? Unfortunately, you don't. I'm sorry about that. All right, KDJ, stay with me for a second. I'm going to have you pick this ticket since you're up here. Pick a good ticket. The winner gets $150.
Rumble, rumble in the jungle. I pick.
Go ahead, you can read it.
I can't read it.
110303.
110303. Who's got it? Someone's got the number. Come on. 110303. What?
You got a winner?
110303. I heard a bingo. Maybe not. Maybe not.
110303. Give it a second before we pick another one. 110303. I think, is that Marie's ear? That's good for you, Marie. Congratulations. Oh, Marie, congratulations.